No, I have a notebook. Thanks.
My name is Dennis Reap. I am the elected town moderator. On behalf of all elected and appointed officials of the town, welcome and thank you for coming to annual town meeting. I hereby call the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting of the town of Boxborough to order. Could you all stand for the Star Spangled Banner, sung by the Blanchard Memorial Vocal Ensemble under the direction of Margie Callahan and accompanied by Felicia Way on the piano. All right, thank you, vocal ensemble. And now Jane Johansson will lead us in a voluntary Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, students. All right, please join me in a moment of silence for those who died during the last year from the town of Boxborough. Their names are listed in the annual town report. And most notably, Gene Kangas, whose spirit of active participation in local government lives on with us here tonight. Thank you. We have a number of people up front here involved with the business of town meeting tonight. The person to the left of me is Town Clerk Rebecca Harris. The person to the right of me is Town Council Joe Fair from KP Law. Sitting to your left in the center of the select board is our Town Administrator Michael Johns. And sitting at that table is the select board. I'll ask the chair and the members to introduce themselves, please.
Diana Lepari, Chair.
Les Fox, Clerk.
John Markowitz, Member.
Wes Folks.
And sitting in the chairs, or the table to your right, down in front of me, is the Finance Committee. I'll ask their chair and members to introduce themselves.
Maria Nealon, Chair.
Priya Sundaram, Vice Chair.
Gary Kushner, Clerk.
Tony Newton.
Keshav Srivastava.
And Becky Neville.
All right, thank you, Finance Committee. We also, in the front row chairs, we have dedicated space for our school committee, our planning board, and our personnel board, who you'll be hearing from at either tonight or at some other point in the meeting. We also have numerous town department heads and staff, our chiefs of police and fire, as well as members of volunteer boards and committees on hand. They're here to speak to some of the motions as needed. This meeting is being broadcast live and is also being recorded for on-demand viewing by BXB-TV, by Littleton Community TV. Excuse me. It's been a tough allergy season for me. A lot of thanks to Kirby Dolak, the LCTV video production supervisor, Judy Reed, their video program coordinator, Rob Crory and David Alstofi, the BXB media technicians, and Diane Douglas, moving about the room as their photographer and logistics coordinator. On behalf of the town, I also extend our thanks to the Blanchard Schools principal, Dana Labb, for being our gracious host, and Blanchard Schools' Dan Rawls and his staff, and to Ed Kukla and our DPW staff for prepping the room here tonight. In addition to the work of that paid staff, one reason our town runs so well is the dedicated work of literally hundreds of volunteers who so generously contribute their hours of time to helping the town. So a few basic announcements up front. Silence your devices if you have them with you. Non-voters over the age of 18 need to sit in the back in those beige chairs in the corner. Refreshments in the back are being provided by the Boxborough Conservation Trust tonight. They'd appreciate a donation in exchange for the refreshments. Town meeting will be tonight, and if you approve the proposed procedural motion a bit later on, we'll continue, if needed, to tomorrow, the 9th, Wednesday the 10th, Thursday the 11th. If additional nights are needed, they will be next week, Wednesday the 17th and Thursday the 18th, but we have yet to discuss that. And last but not least, please remember Boxborough's municipal election is Tuesday, May 16th, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Town Hall. There are contested races for seats on the Select Board, Planning Board, and School Committee, so please consider those candidates and vote next week. All right, the agenda for this meeting is the warrant. Hopefully you got one at home, printed it out, put it on your device, picked one up in the back. Everything we discuss at this meeting is in the warrant. This is not a public comment section or session of the Select Board or Planning Board, nor is it a public forum or public hearing. It's our town meeting. We will not be discussing anything that is not already identified in the warrant. The town meeting is the legislature for the town. We collectively approve town expenses, vote on capital purchases, approve bylaws, determine land use, and other matters that may be included in this year's warrant. The warrant includes summaries and recommendations for each article. I encourage you to read them. In addition to the warrant, material on the table in the back of the hall includes the 2022 town report and guide to town meeting. These documents, along with some of the presentations and supplementary information, are available on the town's website at www.boxborough-ma.gov. My job as moderator is to be the presiding officer of this legislature. The Boxborough Town Meeting is guided by Town Meeting Time, a handbook of parliamentary law prepared by the Mass Moderators Association. My job as moderator is to make sure the town meeting is fair. There's a set of rules and everybody follows them. It's open. Everyone who wishes to speak has the opportunity to do so. Town meeting will also be civil. Everyone listens respectfully. One part of being civil is that there's no applause or booing during discussion of articles. And most important, all discussion on the motions and amendments must be within the four corners of the motion on the floor. Please be aware that we vote on motions, which may be slightly different from the wording of the articles that are printed in the warrant. The motions will be displayed on the screen. Starting on page 3 of the warrant, you'll find the town meeting guide for residents, which summarizes the process for some of the most common motions listed. You're also given a one-page handout on Boxborough town meeting process as you walked in. 4 key points of process here tonight. To be recognized and to speak, you need to be at one of the alternating microphones. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, and we run a clock for all to see up on the screen. All discussion must be relevant to the motions on the floor. I will call for a vote when no one is standing at a microphone. If someone wants to end debate, before that, they need to come to a microphone and say, "I move the question." Sponsors of the article cannot move the question. You cannot make a comment at the mic and then immediately move the question. When we vote, I may call for votes to be made simply by voice, yay or nay, or a show of hands using those green cards that you got as you came in the door. I'll ask you to raise that green card when we do the show of hands. Under town bylaw, I have the ability to declare a majority or a 2/3 vote using the voice vote or show of hands methods. If I do so and 7 of you think I was in error, please say so immediately, and we will have a standing counted vote instead. And if anyone has a question about process as we go along, you can stand in place. Don't need to be at a microphone, just say in a loud voice, point of order, and direct your question to me. Except for a point of order, you must be at a microphone to ask a question, make a comment, or make a motion to move the question. We'll have 2 microphones tonight. I'll be recognizing people to speak in an alternating fashion. I will refer to these microphones as my right or your left, or my left or your right. I'm bound to confuse it at some point. Please note that the beige-colored chairs along the aisle near the microphones are intended to be for people waiting in line at the microphone. So please leave those seats open if you're using one of those right now. Please remember to keep the discussion civil and disagree without being disagreeable. Refrain from applause, boos, cheers of any kind. Foxborough has a long tradition of civility at town meeting. Let's continue with this tradition here tonight. As you noticed in your warrant, we have consent agendas. In an effort to streamline town meeting, we're continuing to use those. They're intended to speed the passage of articles that have already been discussed at previous open meetings and have the unanimous recommendation of both the Select Board and the Finance Committee. This consent process allows for motions under these articles to be acted upon as one unit and passed without debate. This year, we'll have 5 separate consent agendas as listed on page 10 of the warrant. I'll explain the detailed process for acting on the consent agendas when we get to the first one. Special town meeting. You may be wondering about the special town meeting being held as part of the annual town meeting. The annual town meeting is intended to address items of proposed expenditures for the town's fiscal year 2024. It starts on July 1st, 23, and runs through June 30th, 2024. The special town meeting is intended to address immediate items of business and proposed expenditures for the current fiscal year. So that's why we've got special town meeting embedded tonight. So preliminary motions, we need to, before we get started with motions on articles in the warrant, we need to establish some rules specific to this town meeting by way of some procedural motions.
I move that any adjourned sessions of the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting be held on Tuesday, May 9th, Wednesday, May 10th, Thursday, May 11th, Wednesday, May 17th, and Thursday, May 18th, starting at 7 p.m., and further that no debate will begin on any new article after 10:30 p.m.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we meet on those nights at this location. Discussion from the floor.
Mr. Moderator, Owen Neville, Middle Road. I think this might be a great thing to do, but maybe with 1 year's notice. We've always been Monday, Tuesday, Thursday for as long as I've been coming to town meeting, and that started in 1976. I think let's do this next year. I believe there's at least an organization that has a meeting scheduled Wednesday because they thought that we would follow the normal course. And it's a beautiful week. I think the gym will be outside all week long, so we don't have to worry about making the kids, do anything crazy. I would urge defeat of this, or yeah.
Peyton Bartley, 1075 Burroughs Road, and I'm actually speaking as the library director of our Sargent Memorial Library. I agree with the previous speaker. I think this is a great idea. However, we do have a program planned, scheduled last fall for this Wednesday, and it is a music performance that I know a lot of our regular patrons really, really enjoyed. So just please keep that into consideration. They are once a year, and it's really hard to schedule them, and it's going to be this Wednesday. And so, thank you.
Seeing no one at, oh, someone's at a microphone.
Mary Nadworski, Stonehenge Place. Do I understand that Wednesday night is the AB fall concert? So Wednesday night is the Acton-Boxborough Regional Music Department concert at Groton Hill, the new facility. Many other people may have purchased their tickets the way we have. So I wasn't aware of this until you, I was not prepared to speak to this. I wasn't aware of the conflict, but now that I know that, I agree with both of the previous speakers.
All right, seeing no one at a microphone, I'll call for a vote on the procedural motion. All those in favor of the motion as made and seconded by the Select Board, please raise your green cards. Those opposed, please raise your green cards. That motion fails by a majority. May I have a new motion from the Select Board Chair, perhaps an amended version of what you previously read?
Okay, so I move that any adjourned sessions of the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting be held on Tuesday, May 9th, Thursday, May 11th, Wednesday, May 17th, and Thursday, May 18th, starting at 7 p.m., and further that no debate will begin on any new article after 10:30 p.m.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we continue adjourn meetings tonight to Tuesday, then Thursday, and then if needed to the following Wednesday and Thursday at this location. Seeing no one at a microphone, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your green cards. All those opposed, please raise your green cards. That motion passes by majority.
I move that once final action has been taken on an article and the next order of business has been taken up, or the session of the annual town meeting has been adjourned, the article may not again be considered at that annual town meeting unless the moderator determines in his discretion that reconsideration would be in the best interest of the voters.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no one at a microphone, all those in favor of the motion, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That motion carries by a majority.
I move to adjourn the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting until after the May 8th, 2023 special town meeting is dissolved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no one at a microphone, all in favor, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That motion passes by majority. I hereby call the May 8th, 2023 special town meeting of the town of Boxborough to order. Special town meeting articles 1 and 5 have been identified as consent agenda articles and have an asterisk in the warrant. As I described a few moments ago, these are articles that were unanimously recommended by the Select Board and Finance Committee and have been identified in advance as items that would likely pass without debate and are intended to be acted upon as a unit. I will now go through the articles one by name. If one or more voters object to including any particular article in the consent agenda and wish to debate it, please say hold in a loud voice when I read the title of that article. That article will then be removed from the consent agenda. After the name of number 5 has been read, I will ask for a motion from the Select Board Chair, Diana Lapari, that all articles remaining in the consent agenda be passed as a unit by town meeting. We will then go back and discuss any of the hold articles one by one in the usual fashion. So starting with Article 1, Sergeant Road Bond Anticipation Note Repayment. Article 2, Waterline Extension Consultant Fees and Services. Article 3, Information Technology Email and Network Files Cloud Migration. Article 4, Payment of Prior Fiscal Year Bills. Article 5, Fire Chief Assessment Center. I heard a hold on Article 5, Fire Chief Assessment Center. So for the main motion,
I move to approve the special town meeting consent agenda, warrant articles 1 through 4, in accordance with the funding sources and amounts set forth in the May 8, 2023 special town meeting warrant under Articles 1 through 4, respectively.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say yay. I want to do it.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. I heard one nay. Okay. So Articles 1, 3, and 5 passed by majority. The catch is with Article 4 is a 90%, 9/10 vote since it involves bills from a prior year. Number 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3 pass. Article.
Okay. Article 5 is
Yeah, but one. Yeah, the consent agenda passes for Articles 1, 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3.
no.
And
Four.
Article 4, but I cannot call Article 4 because there was a nay vote. I can't. Well, we can. I'm just going to go to. We're just going to redo with a raise of the hands this time around. It's called a revote. It's not a recount. It's a revote. Since everyone understands the 9/10 rule, it needs to be unanimous for me to call it. If it isn't, we're going to go to a standing count. So it's been moved and seconded that Articles 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the consent agenda go to the vote to the floor right now. All those in favor, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. I don't see a single green card. That consent agenda, Articles 1, 2, 3, 4, passes unanimously. Well
Okay.
done, everyone. Thank you. Motion under Article 5.
I move that the town transfer from free cash the sum of $6,000 for the purpose of funding consulting services for our Fire Chief Assessment Center.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Recommendation from the Select Board.
The Select Board recommends, for the reasons written in the summary, the Select Board unanimously recommends this article and graciously thanks the Fire Chief for his many years of dedicated service.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends unanimously this article is funded through free cash, so there's no in-tax impact.
Discussion from the floor. Microphone to my left.
Yeah, Becky Neville, Middle Road, and I don't think you mean taking me 9 minutes, but that's okay. It's going to be a quick question. I just have a question because I guess I'm confused as to why we feel like we need to do an assessment center for the fire chief when we didn't feel like we needed to do an assessment center for the police chief. We trusted the select board and the town administrator to go ahead and hire somebody, and I guess if they can do that, why wouldn't we trust them to go ahead and hire a fire chief?
This town administrator or select board may answer.
Sure. The reason is quite simple. So we're going outside for the fire chief hiring process. We don't have any internal candidates who have applied for the job. Unlike the police department, where we had someone who was our interim police chief for the period of 6 months, has performed outstanding. has passed the test of time, and so I was comfortable recommending to the select board the interim police chief to be hired, or at least considered, as our permanent police chief. The select board did agree and voted unanimously to sign a contract with the police chief. Again, that's different from the fire chief, where we do not have an internal candidate. So the folks who have applied, we don't know any of them. We have no track record with them. So with an assessment center, we're paying an outside objective party to kind of assess our candidates on their technical abilities, their judgment skills, and their ability to handle emergencies and medical responses within our community.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Speaker to my right.
Jim Moss, Bicentennial Way. Would you define what the word center means? I don't understand that.
Sure. So the assessment center actually is a process, not so much a place. So the place will be here in town, one of our buildings, possibly Town Hall, maybe one of our other municipal buildings. So the center is where we bring in an outside consultant. They will bring in with them a number of retired fire chiefs. Some of them may actually still be active. Usually in the assessment centers I've been involved with in the past for hiring both police chiefs and fire chiefs, they will bring in 3 such retired either fire chiefs or police chiefs to assess the capability of the applicants in the pool, so that then they would present a report to myself and the select board, so that we can see their skills, and then we also judge them on an interview panel basis as well. So the center itself is a process that we use where we bring an outside entity in here to help us assess the quality of candidates who are applying.
Could we call the center a room?
You could, except it's actually assessment center is a universally accepted phrase that defines a process where we assess. So they do assessment centers for town administrators, they do assessment centers for chiefs. So we could call it anything we want, but when we put out, when we reached out to the folks through municipal government and vendors who do this, they know what the term assessment center is. So that's why we've defined it as such, because it's already a predetermined, defined term. But I mean, certainly we could call it anything we like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Speaker to my left.
Brenda Sidney, 81 Liberty Square Road. I'm confused by the assessment center. Is that meaning that you're going to rent a room? Because you obviously cannot be hiring a fire chief for $6,000 in terms of the consulting fees.
So the assessment center, I guess I don't understand your question. Could you repeat it, please?
Sure. I've run a business for 44 years. I've never been able to hire someone at an executive level for $6,000. So I'm trying to get clarity as to exactly what the $6,000 is for.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I perfectly understand your question now. So the assessment center is only that portion of the recruitment that is testing the skills of the applicants for the job. So all of the advertising, the interviewing, and the selection is actually being done by town staff and by the select board. The only thing that we're having the assessment center or these outside consultants do is come in for one day and run the candidates through a series of questions and scenarios, and that's it. That's the end of their job. They give us a report and they go away. As opposed to an executive search, like for a corporate
for a
recruitment, for a start to end executive process, you might pay $30,000. That's not what we're looking for. We're just looking for the assessment of their skills. And in my experience, we have been able to do it in the past for $3,000 to $6,000. The prices have gone up some. We have gotten prices, and the prices are ranging from $6,000 to the highest price is $11,000, and that's from companies that do this in Massachusetts with quite a track history of doing it. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
I still think $6,000 is a very low number.
Seeing no one at a microphone, we will call this to a vote. All those in favor of Article 5, please raise your green cards. All those opposed, please raise your green cards. That passes by majority.
I move to dissolve the May 8th, 2023 Boxborough Special Town Meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no one at a microphone, all in favor of dissolving the special town meeting, raise your green cards. All those opposed, please raise your green cards. That motion carries by majority. We are now continuing with annual town meeting. Motion under Article 2.
I move that the town receive the reports of the Select Board and other town officers, agents, and committees, including those published in the 2022 Annual Town Report.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. The town report document is in the back if anybody cares to see it. The discussion recommendations from the Select Board?
There is no verbal report tonight.
Okay. All right, so let me clarify. These are general state of the town reports. This year there'll be 4 reports. We'll hear reports from school committee and planning board in a moment, but we do need to take a vote on the motion, so the select board presumably is recommending the motion to receive the reports. Is there a recommendation from the FinCom?
We just recommend 4-0.
Okay. Your mic's not on.
Finance Committee recommends 5-0.
Okay, seeing no one on the microphone, everyone in favor of receiving reports as stated under the motion under Article 2, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by majority. All right, so as I mentioned, there's a total of a number of reports in the document in the back. The Select Board is not going to present a report because they'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about articles tonight. We will hear from the the school committee and the planning board now. The finance committee will be delivering its general report under Article 5, the budget, which will be coming up in a little while. And again, to note, we are receiving reports. We're not accepting or approving. There's no questions or debates on these reports. They're just for information. So I will now turn the floor over to the Acton-Boxborough School Committee. Ms. McKinley, please.
Good evening. My name is Tessa McKinley, Vice Chair for Boxborough. Wait for the slides. I guess while I'm waiting, I'll introduce who's here tonight. I'm joined by fellow school committee members Adam Klein from Boxborough and Liz Folks from Boxborough, Leela Ramachandran, newly elected member of Acton, and Ian Schmidt and Tori Campbell. Yep. And we're also joined by Peter Light, Superintendent, Deb Bookus, Assistant Superintendent Marie Altieri, Deputy Superintendent Jen Faber, yes, Andrew Shen, all right, and Dave Verlino, who's also retiring this year. It's his last town meeting. Here it is. All right. I am pleased to present the Acton-Boxborough School District's proposed FY24 budget. Like did introduce. I already introduced our committee members, but I'd like to say a thank you to those committee members who are retiring. So Evelyn Abaya Isa, myself, Kira Wilson Cook, Amy Krishnamurthy, and Yebin Wang all ended our school committee tenure this year. Also on the school committee, but not represented tonight, are Ben Blumenthal, Ginny Kremer, Andrew Schwartz, and Rebecca Wilson. We're grateful to all for their time and commitment to our students, staff, and broader communities. We give a special thanks to the departing members for their years of service. And I have already introduced you to our newly elected members from Acton. Boxborough's elected members will be chosen next Tuesday. Throughout this presentation, we will showcase how our district has adapted to meet the evolving needs of our students and how our proposed budget will enable us to continue providing the resources and programs necessary for their success both now and in the future. The Acton-Boxborough School District is more than just our track record as a top-ranking district in the state and nation. With a diverse student body that includes multilingual and specialized education learners, we are adapting to meet the evolving needs of our students. Through our multi-tiered systems of support, we are providing the resources necessary for the success of all students. These graphs show the changing face of the AB school community. Our district is home to a rapidly growing multilingual student body and their families who speak 49 different languages. Many of our multilingual students are in their first 2 years in the United States. It's important to note that despite the perception of affluence in our communities, our school district has seen the population of economically disadvantaged students grow over the last 3 pandemic-impacted years. We continue to provide an exceptional education for our students. Addressing the social, emotional, and mental health needs of our students has been a top priority of our schools. We are collaborating with the innovative Cartwheel Care program, which provides access to a mental health professional within 1 week of a referral from our counselors. We have also partnered with Assabet Valley Collaborative to provide wraparound services for students and families who need more than our schools can provide. And our educators are using trauma-sensitive strategies to create positive environments that support all of our students. We continue to focus on improving academic outcomes for all of our students. We have implemented a tiered system of supports, MTSS, that focuses on using student learning data to ensure all students make effective progress. We are proud to share that the Boardwalk campus that houses Douglas and Gates Elementary Schools and the Carol Hebner Early Childhood Program opened this past fall, on time and $3 million under budget. We've been proud to host delegations of elected officials to tour the building and show off its triple net zero energy systems that make it one of the most efficient and environmentally sustainable buildings in the state. We continue to move toward completion of parking lots, playing fields, and solar panels scheduled for this fall. We are grateful to the community and the incredible volunteers that have made up our building committee for their time, for your continued support as we complete this colossal undertaking. Our school district is an important shared asset that turns our 2 distinct towns into one community. Our school committee is grateful to both towns for your continued support of our budget. The proposed budget reflects our responsibility to meet the needs of our students within our community's available resources. There were a series of challenges the committee faced in developing the proposed budget. These included declining revenues, inflationary pressure, and significant increases to health insurance and special education costs. The school committee understood the limited resources available to the town, and we developed a budget that limited the increase to the Acton assessment to under 3%. Understanding these challenges, the school committee set clear guidelines that prioritized students' needs and made clear the limited resources available in the community. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our teachers for their collaboration to settle a 3-year contract. Despite budget challenges, we maintained our commitment to providing a robust system of supports for our students' academic and social emotional needs. The final proposed budget for FY24 is just under $106 million. This represents a 2.91% increase over the FY23 budget. After revenues and use of reserves, the final assessment to the towns is approximately $86 million. The Boxborough share of the assessment is up 5.18% over FY23. We focused on 3 key areas to balance our budget. We prioritized our students' academic and social emotional needs and continued to fund essential capital improvements while also decreasing our use of reserves. Additionally, we reduced expenses, including a reduction in staff of 10.4 full-time administrative and teaching positions. Over the last 2 years, we have reduced staff by over 30 positions. While we believe we can meet the needs of our students in the immediate future, continued reductions of this nature will compromise the quality of education our community has come to expect from our schools and which our students deserve. Looking at the table here, the FY24 increase of 2.91% continues our history of fiscal responsibility by managing annual budget increases to about 3%. You'll note the FY21 increase in the table shows both operating budget and the first year of Boardwalk campus debt. The actual operating budget increase in FY21 was 2.73%. Boxborough's average increase over the past 5 years is 4.21%. As a reminder, our share of the budget is calculated on a rolling 3-year average of students enrolled in the district. As our school-aged population increases, our assessment will as well. With that, I want to thank the town meeting members for your continued support of our school district and our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKinley and the school committee. Now for the report of the planning board. Ms. Markowitz.
Good evening. My name's Cindy Markowitz, and I am the clerk of the planning board. The planning board has had another very productive year since the beginning of the fiscal year last July. Planning board members this year include Mark Barbadaro, chair, myself, Rebecca Werner, Kathy Vorse, and Mark White, and associate member Janet Keating-Connolly. We've been extremely busy, including several reviews of new development and redevelopment projects, and recommending zoning bylaw and general bylaw changes, participating on a variety of other committees, and weighing in on state and town issues. Some of the highlights of the board's work this year include the following. At fall special town meeting last fall, the planning board presented 4 zoning articles which were designed to improve, clarify, and harmonize language in the existing zoning bylaw. These included a recodification of the zoning bylaw to make it more user-friendly, aligning the zoning bylaw with the stormwater bylaw and rules and regulations, amending the definition of gross floor area, and aligning the definition of lot coverage with the requirements in the dimensional table. I'm sorry, I do not have slides. I do not have any slides. Yeah. All 4 articles passed by the requisite 2/3 vote. Over the past year, the planning board held over 20 public meetings and several public hearings. A summary of the board's activities related to those are as follows. The board approved a special permit modification for a new research and development building at 400 Beaverbrook Road. The project is currently under construction. This activity helps to fill the park at Beaverbrook and adds density to support a new restaurant that's proposed to open shortly at 500 Beaverbrook. The board reviewed application materials for a redevelopment project at 60 Codman Hill Road for a new industrial building, which would have required removal of the existing building. The project would have had a larger footprint from the existing building. The project was ultimately withdrawn from the planning board, and the applicant received instead an approval from the zoning board of appeals to use the existing building with a minor reduction in impervious area. This resulted in fewer impacts than potentially those of a new building at that site. The board also reviewed several new development applications that the board deemed were not in the town's best interest and were not compatible with the zoning bylaws, rules and regulations, nor with the master plan. The board has provided extensive comments to the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act office on a proposed research campus at 1414 Mass Avenue. This project proposes 578,000 new square feet of research and light manufacturing space, along with over 1,000 new parking spaces and 35 loading docks on 200 acres of land behind the existing building that currently houses 2 life science tenants. The board will continue to monitor the project at the state level and anticipates that permit applications will be coming before the town in the near future. The planning board is hopeful that the applicant can work with the town for a less impactful plan. The board is working with the town planner on next steps regarding the multifamily requirements of the Zoning Act, or what is commonly referred to as the MBTA communities. The board submitted a joint letter with the Select Board to the Mass Department of Community Housing and Development regarding the original draft regulations with specific concerns and recommendations for how the regulations could be improved for the town of Boxborough. As a result of ours and other community concerns, the guidelines were modified to accommodate small towns such as Boxborough who do not have MBTA rail stations physically located in town. For Boxborough, the requirement of the Act includes the required zoning for, but not requiring the development of, a minimum of 118 multifamily units within the town. Our town planner has submitted the initial action plan to the state as required under the law, and the planning board will continue to work with the town planner and others to develop and propose zoning to town meeting that meets or exceeds the requirements of the law by 2025. Additionally, planning board members participated in the development of the town's recently updated open space and recreation plan. Board members provided input through this process, including recent attendance at the Community Engagement Forum this past April. The board also spent several meetings reviewing the road acceptance materials for Boxborough Meadows and voted to recommend the acceptance of these roadways once we had a complete accounting of the costs associated with the necessary upgrades. Over the past year, planning board members worked with other boards such as the Sustainability Committee, the Agricultural Commission, the Water Resources Committee, the Economic Development Committee, and the Finance Committee to gather feedback on various proposals, including proposed bylaws and bylaw amendments. Planning board members also represented the planning board on other committees and attended their meetings, and these included the Community Preservation Committee, the Design Review Board, the Economic Development Committee, and regional and sub-regional planning entities such as MAGIC and MAPC, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. For this town meeting, the planning board is presenting one zoning bylaw amendment modification to expand the language regarding accessory apartments, also known as accessory dwelling units, brought by planning board member Kathy Vorse, and one proposed new general bylaw regarding tree protection brought by planning member Rebecca Werner. The planning board held duly advertised public hearings on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment as printed in the 2023 annual town meeting warrant under Article 46 on March 6th and voted unanimously to recommend the amendment on that date. The board held several working sessions regarding the proposed tree protection general bylaw, Article 47, and the planning board has voted unanimously to recommend the tree protection general bylaw. Presentations of both articles will be given as those respective articles come up during this town meeting. Finally, the planning board wants to formally welcome and thank our new town planner, Alec Wade, who joined the town last fall and has provided us wonderful support. The planning board also wishes to acknowledge and thank Mary Nadwarski for her continued support of the board. And the board also wishes to thank the rest of town staff that has supported us throughout the year. We encourage members of the public to attend our meetings, which are generally held twice a month on Monday evenings and are rebroadcast on BXB On Demand. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Markowitz and the Planning Board. As I mentioned earlier, we'll hear from the FinCom under Article 5, so that concludes the formal reports we'll hear tonight. As I mentioned earlier, reports of all the committees and boards are provided in the annual town report document in the back of the room. Motion under Article 3.
I move that the town fix the salaries and compensation of various elected officials for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 as follows. Select Board members, $400 each member per year. Board of Health members, $200 each member per year. Town Clerk, $75,900. Constables, $3 each copy / warrant posted. Planning Board members, $400 each member per year. Boxborough members of AB Regional School Committee, $400 each member per year. Library Board of Trustees, $200 each member per year. Town Moderator, $100 per year.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion from the Select Board.
The majority of the Select Board feels that stipends should be available to those who choose to take them.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends unanimously.
Excuse me, we do have a minority opinion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Minority opinion from the select board?
I'm going to read that. The minority of the select board
Do you
believes
want me
that...
to just say it because it's my opinion?
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
sorry. I really don't see the value in it, having these stipends for the elected officials outside the constable and the town clerk because those are required. But we're effectively taxing people that then get taxed on this payment to them. And so it creates a recursive tax. And for these, I don't want to say small amounts, but for these amounts, I believe that there are better ways to show appreciation to them because typically that's really just the symbolic motion of it is to show appreciation for those people who volunteer time. And so like, for example, if the reasoning is like, here, so I can have a babysitter so I can be here, babysitters now cost like $25 an hour. And so the $400 goes out the window pretty quickly. That's like one meeting, if that. And so I think that there's better ways to show people that they're appreciated for volunteering their time.
Okay, we have the recommendations from the Select Board and the Finance Committee. Discussion from the floor.
So I move to amend the motion to the following. I move that we strike the rows for the Select Board, the Board of Health members, the Personnel Board members, or the Planning Board members, the Boxborough members of the AB Regional School Committee, the Library Board of Trustees, and the moderator, and the relevant salaries.
Okay, does the town clerk have that amended motion? Leaving just the constables and town clerk. And can we get that on the screen so people can see what it is? I want to be clear that we see what the motion is before there's a second and any discussion. Wes, is that accurate? Okay, it's been moved to amend. Do we have a second? Second. Discussion from the Select Board on the amendment. It's the same as before, you can say.
Do you want to say something?
I don't need to waste your time, but effectively, I do think that there are better ways, and we've been exploring that with a lot more of the appreciation events that we've been having.
Is there an opposing view on the Select Board?
Opposing views? Is that what you asked for?
Yeah, on the amendment, since you recommended the motion to begin
Well,
with.
I see Wes personally.
It is a symbolic thing, and if Wes's amendment is fine with me.
Actually, shall we say?
I don't want to waste time. I actually agree with Wes's motion. We had actually talked about what we would do, how we could use the $400 for each select board member in a different way. So I'm fine, Wes, with your motion. I don't want to go into another tax bracket.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee does not recommend the amendment.
Discussion from the floor.
Adam Klein, Whitcomb Road. I'm also a member of the school committee. For the past 2 years, I've actually not received this payment, given some of the transitions that have been going on in the town hall. So I too am in favor of striking this. It has taken me more time to try and get the funds so that I could further donate them than it is to actually get the not get the funds. So I too am in favor of the amendment. Thank you.
Microphone to my left.
As a former CPA, I'd like to understand
Just
why the
name and address again so everybody knows.
Brenda Sidney,
Yes, thank
81
you.
Liberty Square Road. I would be interested to know why the Finance Committee is not in favor of eliminating an expense.
Would the Finance Committee care to answer?
Well, Finance Committee hasn't discussed it other than to say, how do we feel? Does somebody want to specifically put their opinion out there? Oh, Gary's at the mic. Gary will explain his opinion.
Okay, Gary, you're...
Yeah, so Gary Kushner, Flag Hill Road. I came up here to talk about the amendment, but I'll give the explanation, which is 4 or 5 years ago, this town meeting approved salaries for the school committee. The Finance Committee talked about it over the course of a few months and felt if one elected board was receiving the funds, it's not fair to the other elected boards. So we came up and presented to town meeting these dollar amounts. If you work a couple months, couple meetings a month, we got 400. If you're one meeting a month, you got 200. We felt that was fair, and that's been the way it's been for the last, I think, at least 3 years. But it all came about because this legislature approved the school committee to get the salary back again 4 or 5 years ago. So the reason the Finance Committee is against this primarily is because town meeting has approved these things in the past. You can change your mind, but that's the history of why we ended up with salaries for elected officials.
Microphone to my right.
Hi, yes, I'm Molly Wong, 86 Stonehenge Place. I've actually been on the Library Board of Trustees for the past couple of terms, and as a board, we actually voted to not take the stipend, and I'm just curious if we have any data on how many boards are even taking it. Like, is this something that people have even been receiving?
I don't know, is anyone prepared to answer that?
I can answer that. Last year of the, hold on 1 second. 1, 2, 3. 3 of the boards listed chose to take it last year. Last year, the select board chose to put their salaries into employee appreciation, which has been used this year for various employee appreciation events. And the library board of trustees chose not to take it.
Okay, thank you.
Microphone to my left.
Cheryl Mahoney, 188 Liberty Square Road. A question, for town council through the moderator. Are there any statutory requirements for these various boards to be paid a salary?
No, there is not. Not for the ones that are being stricken.
Seeing no one at a microphone, we are now going to vote on the amendment as we've just put on the screen and discussed here. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of the amendment as presented, raise your cards. All those opposed, raise your cards. That amendment passes by majority. All right, so now we'll vote on the motion as amended. We've passed the amendment. So the motion, everyone in favor of the motion as amended, raise your cards. Everyone opposed, raise your cards. That passes by majority. Motion under Article 4.
That's not me.
That's the Personnel Board. Yeah. And so before we hear the motion, let me explain one thing. Article 4 involves 2 separate items. If you've got your warrant, you can see them. To make it easier to explain and discuss and to vote on the motion, there'll be 2 separate discussions and votes with 1 discussion and vote per item listed in the warrant. So floors belongs to Mr. Slade of the Personnel Board.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Lee Slade, 380 Burroughs Road. I'm the chair of the Personnel Board. The article from the Personnel Board starts on page 26 of your warrant. If it pleases the moderator, let me read the motion and then I'll speak to it. The motion from the Personnel Board is to see if the town will vote to amend certain sections of the Personnel Administration Plan, including the classification and compensation schedule, in the matter that is set forth in the document on file with the town clerk titled Proposed Changes to Personnel Administration Plan, May 8th, 2023, and also available on the town's website, or take any other action relative hereto. The Personnel Board is asking the town to approve the items described in Warrant Article 4 with 2 separate votes. The details of each vote are outlined in the warrant. I'd like to share a brief
Okay,
explanation.
so Lee, we'll need a motion on the vote number 1 where you say, "I move."
I
You have it?
move
Yep.
the motion.
Yep, for vote 1. Well, you've got to read the motion as worded there. Under
The
vote
entire
1.
motion again?
The vote 1 motion. Do you have that printed?
I do not.
Oh, you got the article. You need the motion. Can I share that? Yeah, that's it.
You can tell I'm a rookie.
To
Vote 1, I move that the town amend certain administrative sections of the Personnel Administration Plan in the manner that is set forth in the document on file. Reading the right thing?
Got it.
With the town clerk titled Proposed Changes to Personnel Administration Plan, May 8th, 2023, and also available on the town's website as set forth in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and
I'll second.
seconded. Presentation, Mr. Slade.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. First, a bit about the work of the Personnel Board. The Personnel Board is responsible to develop and maintain the Personnel Administration Plan and to work with the Select Board and the Town Administrator and his staff to ensure that it is implemented. The Personnel Board is made up of 5 appointed members, appointed by the Select Board. 4 of them new in the last year, and 2 of them so new that they were not on the board when we voted these warrant items. The members are Sheila Bauer, Ellen Hickey, Alan McLean, and Cheryl Mahoney. I also want to recognize Bill Latante, who served beyond his required tenure very graciously until we could get back to full strength on our board. Thank you, board members. One of our priorities is to support the town administrator in building and retaining a town staff that is efficient, happy, and properly compensated. Our efforts cover the breadth of the employee life cycle and our focus to help the town become an employer of choice. And we are working with the new town administrator and his team very closely to accomplish this. The first motion includes 4 administrative changes to the plan labeled A, B, C, and D to support continued evolution of the makeup of town staff and to make the plan more responsive to staff needs, seeking to improve the town's position as an employer of choice. Item A creates 1 new position and modifies 2 others as follows. The Associate Town Planner is a new part-time position that will provide technical and administrative bandwidth support to complement our new town planner's focus on policy. This position will support the very busy work of the town planner's office. The position of part-time dispatcher is an updated position that ensures the town can economically provide 24/7 dispatcher service with qualified, non-overtime employees when full-time dispatchers are on PTO or otherwise unable to come to work. The position of reserve police officer is an updated position that ensures the town can add short-term officer capacity for special situations such as Pfeiffer's Day without paying overtime rates. Item B will modify the plan to better define the concept of promotion and reclassification and then ensure that when an individual is either promoted or their position is reclassified, that they will receive an appropriate salary adjustment of at least 4%. The current language in the plan does not clearly ensure that. Item C will allow regular part-time employees to accrue vacation time, making these positions more attractive to candidate employees and making the town more competitive as an employer. Item D adds a new sick leave bank, which creates a formal mechanism for town employees to voluntarily contribute some days of their available sick leave to a common pool to be drawn on by those in the bank when needed. Many other towns already have this benefit available to employees. The cost of the assistant town planner is $30,000 in the budget. The use of 2 per diem positions should result in salary savings through reduction of overtime for full-time officers. Items B and D cost the town nothing. The cost for item C is nominal. These costs are included in the proposed budget. The Personnel Board believes that these changes are good for the efficiency of town operations and will help Boxborough be a more attractive and competitive employer, which is extremely important, especially when employment is hovering around 4%. Mr. Moderator, the Personnel Board has voted in favor of this motion. and respectfully request a yes vote on vote 1 of the motion.
Thank you. Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends for all the reasons written in the warrant.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
For the reasons written in the summary, the Select Board unanimously recommends this article and supports the effort of the Planning Board to clarify various aspects of the personnel plan and to add a provision for a much-needed sick leave bank, which will bring welcome changes for our employees.
Seeing no one at the microphone. Oh, we do have a person at the microphone to my left.
Bob Semple, 53 Kendall Road. I have a question for the Personnel Board, and it has to do with vote 1. I guess it's number C, where it has to do with vacation under Article 10. The question, my question is, can you explain the difference between a regular part-time employee and a per diem employee? Because according to the new word, the new language, a regular part-time employee will be benefited from vacation time, yet a per diem employee will not be benefited from a vacation time. So I don't understand the difference between a regular part-time and a per diem employee.
Thank you. I'll let Assistant Town Administrator Rajan Hudson handle that.
So, Bob, just a quick clarification. So a part-time employee is a regular employee, and they typically work under 20 hours. So it's an employee that can work from 6 to 19.5 hours, whereas a per diem employee is a person who is, their hours are essentially on call. That's the best way to describe it. They could 1 week maybe work up to 25 hours, the next week work up to 6 hours. So it's a position where it's typically an on-call position where the person essentially comes in, covers shifts, or comes in and covers for either another part-time employee or a full-time employee. So regular part-time employee is an employee that works under 20 hours. A per diem position employee is someone who works for either on-call or seasonal.
And so as a retired per diem employee for the town, I understand your comments about a regular part-time, but per diem employees will work up to 20 hours, sometimes 30 hours a week on a regular basis. So if a part-timer is working 20 hours a week and a per diem employee could work up to 20 hours a week, depending upon shifts available, I'm not seeing the difference, because one of the things that we're doing here is not allowing the per diems who are working 20 hours a week on a regular basis to earn vacation time.
So, for example, like you were a per diem for the fire department. So the thing with that is, so it was a set period of time that you work with fire command staff. So like, let's say a per diem who works seasonally, like let's say they did the Flare Summer Program, who worked for 3 months at max, who worked maybe 15 hours a week. It's kind of hard. I feel like with an example like that, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges, because a regular part-time employee, they're an employee who's going to work a set amount of hours on a weekly basis. That's predetermined between the town administrator or the department head, such as a library director or police chief or fire chief. Whereas a per diem, it's more so their hours they work are, I would say, less calculated and more subject to fluidity versus a regular part-time employee who they work essentially the set like 19 and a half hours, 16 hours. So it's easier to track and accrue.
Okay, I'm still not sure I understand the difference, but I appreciate it.
Microphone to my left.
Brenda Sidney, 81 Liberty Square Road. Don't go anywhere, please. I don't understand why you're making the per diem employee to be excluded when clearly you're talking about similar types of hours. I don't understand the exclusion.
Mr. Moderator, I can answer that if you like.
Yeah, please do.
So this personnel plan has been worked on for the better part of the last year. And specifically, it came to last fall town meeting. It wasn't quite ready. We thought it needed a little bit more review. what you have in front of you has been well vetted and debated, voted on. If there are some recommendations that come forward as far as looking at per diem, albeit, about vacation, then that's something that should come in front of the Personnel Board so that they have a chance to look at that. The difference being that we know what a regular part-time employee works. As Rajan said, they work regularly every single week, 15 hours or 19 and a half hours, whatever. So we can calculate what their vacation times are. We're not trying to exclude anybody, but what we did is we vetted this process of getting a better benefit for our regular part-time employees. If there's something that that anyone would like us to look at as far as per diem or reserve officers, that's certainly something that I'm sure the Personnel Board would be willing to sit with the employee groups and listen to, but they haven't had that opportunity. Now, the Personnel Board has met with the firefighters as far as pay for their but as far as the vacation, that has not come up. That's something that probably should have some healthy dialogue before it's ready to be changed and voted on at this meeting. That would be my opinion.
I'm sorry, I meant no disrespect. I didn't mean that this hadn't been well thought out. I thought we were just supposed to ask questions, so I'll take my question back.
No, I think it's a good question, and I think the Personnel Board can commit to discuss this with the TA and the ATA, and we'll possibly bring it back to town meeting at a future time. Thank you.
Microphone to my right, please.
Chad Shoulders, 150 Middle Road. Question for clarification. The proposed change, the way I'm reading it, is just to add vacation for the part-time employees, not to change anything right now for per diem, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Seeing no one at a microphone, do we have someone at the microphone?
Yeah.
Right.
Barbara Salzman, Cobley Road. I request that you look at the per diem workers more closely going forward, and that you consider also them for accruing vacation time. Because I can see how that could, the per diem could really slide into part-time. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion. We will do that.
Microphone to my right.
Christine Marlowe, 880 Depot Road. Just for clarification, with the per diem, are they allowed to work for other towns as well? Because I kind of think of them as like a substitute teacher, something like that, where you can work for other places. Is that true or not?
I believe they're allowed, and many do.
So,
correct in that, Mike?
So
That is possible. I don't know if we have folks that do or how many do, but yes, that would be possible.
okay, thank you.
Seeing no one at the microphone, we will now take a vote on Vote 1 of Article 4. We've just been discussing the Vote 1 portion. All those in favor of Article 4, Vote 1, raise your cards. All those opposed, raise your cards. That passes by majority. Now on to Article 4, Vote 2, at the printed motion, which you now have, Lee. My
I do
apologies
indeed.
for that.
Thank you. Vote 2, I move that the town amend the classification and compensation schedule of the Personnel Administration Plan in the manner that is set forth in the document on file with the town clerk titled Proposed Changes to Personnel Administration Plan, May 8th, 2023, and also available on the town's website as set forth in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant, which schedule includes a 2.9% wage adjustment as stated in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant.
Is there a second?
Second.
A presentation and a recommendation from the Personnel Board, please.
Yes, thank you. Vote 2 is the recommendation for a 2.9% across the board wage adjustment for fiscal year 2024. This wage adjustment is based on a 3-year average of the Consumer Price Index, which is a reasonable and our usual way of calculating this adjustment. It should be noted that many employees will also receive a step increase of 2.5% to 3% on top of that 2.9% wage increase. We worked with ATA Hudson to evaluate what other towns are doing with respect to their wage adjustments, and our 2.9% increase tracks very closely with other towns and with the average that we have found. Obviously, it's important for Boxborough to be competitive in our staff compensation and benefits while retaining fiscal responsibility. Increased salary costs are estimated at $23,000, which is included in the proposed budget for 2024.
Sorry.
Mr. Moderator, the Personnel Board has voted in favor of this motion. Respectfully request a yes vote on vote 2 of the motion.
Discussion recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends for all the reasons in the warrant.
Discussion recommendation from the Select Board.
For the reasons written in the summary, the Select Board unanimously recommends this article and supports the 2.9% COLA increase.
Discussion from the floor. To my left.
Hi. I work with the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth sets aside a performance pool. Does the town of Boxborough have a performance pool where people who exceed, maybe they don't get to go to the next step, but at least the fact that they do an outstanding job is reflected in their salaries?
Mr. Moderator, may I ask respectfully that people who come to the microphones come in closer and be made aware of the fact that these microphones are directional, so if you turn your head away like that, you won't be heard. So I'm just reminding everyone, with your permission.
Thank you for that reminder.
Please don't speak too closely to the microphone.
Do you want me closer, further away?
Ma'am, I didn't hear a question or a comment other than that
I
you're talking about
said
merit.
I work with the Commonwealth, who sets aside a performance pool. Does the town of Boxborough have a performance pool where you don't give somebody a step to the next level job, but you recognize their outstanding performance?
I'm not aware. I don't believe we do. Apparently not.
So across the board means that if I and this lovely lady are both at the same job, we get the same raise, even if she's much better and works harder than me?
Mr. Moderator, I can address that question if you like.
Yes, please, Town Administrator.
Sure. So there are two ways that people's pay can increase during the year. What is being discussed here is the COLA, or the cost of living increase, and that is not at all based on merit or performance. That's based on how much the cost of living has gone up in the area. So that's what's being addressed in this. In addition to that, as Mr. Slade had mentioned, employees are also eligible for a step raise. And the step raise is based on performance, and it's most closely related to your question, although not exactly. What happens in May and June is that all employees are evaluated on their annual performance by their supervisors, and then they can be recommended for a step raise. So two people doing the same job, if one has an unsatisfactory performance and the other one has outstanding performance, then that would be the difference. There would be no difference whatsoever in the cost of living adjustment or the COLA. That would be applied equally to all employees who are eligible for the COLA. Now, contract employees are not eligible for this COLA. So that would be our accountant, our treasurer, myself, the chief of police, the fire chief. We are on contracts, and those increases are stipulated in the 3-year contract, how much it would go up. So this 2.9% would not be added to those folks. Similarly, our union employees typically have 3-year contracts, and their cost of living is factored into the beginning of the 3-year contract. And one of those we'll be talking about later this evening. So this 2.9% does not apply to any contract employees or to any union employees. Those increases are adjusted separately.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Seeing no one at a microphone, we are now going to vote on Article 4, vote number 2, as moved. All those in favor of Article 4, vote 2, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by majority. Okay, now we're moving on to Article 5. Before I ask for a motion, I just want to explain this is the budget, the operating budget of the town, one of the most important articles we consider each town meeting. Let's see, I think earlier I failed to introduce the folks in the front here running the show for us, including Rajan Hudson, our Assistant Town Administrator, Kelly Price, Administrative Assistant, and Kelly Pompriand, our Town Accountant, who will be listening and keeping track of any discussion with the budget articles as we discuss at the motion. So please turn to page 34 of the warrant. This year we will have our usual practice. We consider the budget item by item. I will read the name of the item. If no one comes to the microphone or calls out hold, we will continue to the next item. If someone calls hold, we will discuss that item and resolve it then before moving on to the next item. Once we have reached the end, I will call for a vote. So before we start that process, the Finance Committee will make the motion, including any minor changes there may be to what you've seen printed. And before that, and once they make the motion, the Finance Committee will then present their report, as I mentioned earlier. So with that brief introduction, I'll ask for a motion from the FinCom.
I move that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $25,892,289 for the operations and expenses of the town during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023, for the purposes for which funding are set forth in the department account numbers 114 through 915 and any subheadings included under said account numbers as printed in Article 5 of the May 8th, 2023 annual meeting warrant under the heading FY24 budget, submitted budget, except for Department 156, total salaries technologies, which has been reduced by $7,500 to $0. Department 210, total salaries police, which has been reduced by $9,897 to a total of $1,478,007. Department 210, total other police, which has been increased by $4,000 to $133,683. Department 215, total salaries dispatch, which has been increased by $12,000 to $424,033. Department 300, total other education, which has been decreased by $27,149 to $304,641, making the new total to be raised $25,863,743.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Report from the Finance Committee.
Thank you. Wait for my slides to come up.
We had a slide, okay.
There we go. Okay, again, my name is Maria Neal, and I'm the chair of the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is composed of volunteers appointed by the moderator. We represent all of you. This means we take our job very seriously, and we are extremely careful when approving all expenditures, especially those that impact your tax rate. Each year, we strive for a collaborative budget process, and this year was no different. I would like to thank the Finance Committee for all their time and effort. I would like to thank the Town Administrator, Michael Johns, who came late to the budget process this year, and yet this was one of the most collaborative budget years we have had in recent memory. I would be remiss if I did not thank all the department heads, the chiefs, the town staff, all the committee, boards, and commissions for making this budget year a true collaboration with, quite frankly, very little drama. And we'd also like to thank our boss, the moderator, Dennis Reap. The Finance Committee had simple budget goals this year. Minimize increases to the operating budget while providing the needed services to the residents. Manage the operating budget with no automatic increases by looking at historical data as we move forward this year. Proposed increases to services are all in separate warrant articles and not under Article 5. Manage long-term debt via capital process. Continue to address the unfunded retirement benefits known as OPEB, and manage our free cash by using them strategically to offset items throughout the warrant. Changes you will notice in this year's budget. We have made the decision to move reoccurring capital items from the operating budget to standalone warrant articles. Examples of this would be the police cruiser, technology hardware, personal protection replacement for the fire department. We have done this for two reasons. First, to increase transparency and accountability to the taxpayers. And second, due to the continued supply chain issues, not all items can be ordered, received, and paid for within the same fiscal year. By putting these items into separate warrant articles, it allows the money for payments to cross over to the next year rather than roll back into free cash. It also provides control to the taxpayers versus automatic budget increase from year to year. Utilities is another change you will notice. Traditionally, all utilities have been scattered throughout our budget in departmental budgets. By consolidating utilities into Budget 192, Buildings and Grounds, we hope to have better control over this expense and thus providing savings in the future, or at least providing some control over increases. We have also consolidated the vocational school budget into Budget 300. It is the hope of the FinCom that the town will be able to join a vocational district soon so that we can avoid the extremely high cost of transportation to 3 different vocational schools. This year, you will notice we were able to use more free cash than usual to make capital purchases. This has allowed us to reduce our long-term debt requirements, thus putting us in a good position for future needs. Each year, we attempt to give accurate estimates of the tax impact on the items in the warrant, including the budget. Unfortunately, the actual tax impact is not known until late November, when it is set by the assessor, voted by the select board, and approved by the Department of Revenue. We have made a 5% increase in the total, we've estimated a 5% increase in the total town evaluation. This year's total operating budget as printed in the warrant was $25,892,289. However, just last week, we were able to fine-tune the budget, and the motion under Article 5 reflects the decrease of $28,546. The new final budget, as voted, is now $25,863,743. Unfortunately, due to the timing, these slides are slightly off, but the budget that will be projected during Article 5 presentation will reflect the changes. As you can see, we are spending $1.5 million in free cash to purchase equipment and other capital items. By doing this through free cash, we are able to keep debt and taxes down this year. Our free cash balance is higher than it's ever been due to many factors, but mainly the budgets through COVID were not fully expended, and revenues raised through tax increases rolled back into free cash. We were also reimbursed for COVID relief, and that also went into free cash. That said, due to unforeseen circumstances, we will not have as much money rolling into free cash this year as we had anticipated. Next year will be a much more typical budget year, and hard choices will need to be made to manage our purchases versus our debt and our taxes. The budget drivers this year, our overall operating budget is up 4.8%. The town government budget is only up 3.2%. The total school assessments, and that includes the regional school district and the vocational schools, is an increase of 5%. Retirement and pensions are up 9.7%. Employee benefits are also up 7.7%. Other budget drivers include debt and insurance. Many of the biggest budget drivers are assessments to our town, items which we have no control over. This visual shows how little of our budget we control. We control about 1/3 of the overall budget, and that is in the blue section. And even within that section of the budget, there are many contractual obligations that we have no control over that are negotiated through the select board with our input, but once they're negotiated for a 3-year generally process, we have no control over that as well. This graph reflects the spending breakdown on this year's articles. Most years, our free cash amount is significantly less, and our bonding and taxation is significantly higher. But as you can see this year, we have quite a bit of free cash that we're able to use. The town continues to pay down debt, and we have positioned ourselves to handle necessary future projects, including potential public safety building and ensuring a clean water supply to our town. The town reserves as of May 1st. The free cash balance as of May 1st, before taking any of tonight's warrant into account, is $2,731,384. That's approximately 11% of our operating budget. With the use of free cash this year, we will bring our balance down to 5% of the operating budget, which brings it back in line with our guidelines. The stabilization fund is $1,526,285.91, and that is well within the guidelines set by our policy. Our reserve fund is budgeted at 0.6% of the overall budget. This is a new policy set by the Finance Committee this year, which sets the reserve fund as a percentage of a budget as opposed to a fixed amount. And as always, the reserve fund, the overlay reserve fund, is set by the town assessor. Thank you for taking time and listening to our report. We welcome your questions and concerns and comments, and can be reached through our email that can be found on the website. We have meetings on the first and third Tuesday of most months, with the exception of January through March, when it's every Tuesday. All our meetings are hybrid, all are recorded and have been posted to the website. I'm going to take a second, because on behalf of the Finance Committee, I would like to take a minute to recognize 2 individuals who have served our town with great dedication and are retiring this year. First, Fire Chief Paul Philibrown. Paul, are you here? You hiding in the back? Paul, you have been a chief only for a few years, but your contribution to our town reflects a much longer service. I think I speak for the entire FinCom, and might I add, probably most of the people in the audience, when I say it has been a pleasure to work with you, and we wish you the best in your retirement. Thank you for your service. And Les Fox, 24 years of service to the town. You have more than earned your retirement. You have served on too many committees to list. However, a few of your many accomplishments stand out. Your work on the purchase of the new DPW building saved the town untold millions, not thousands, but millions of dollars by not having to build a new building. Your years of work in the Public Safety Building Committee has been the definition of dedication. Sir, you are dedicated. And more recently, your efforts on the Water Resource Committee has to provide clean drinking water to the people primarily on the west side of 495 have been amazing. There are many of us who looked to you as a mentor when we became members of the Select Board, and you did not fail us. We thank you for your unmatched dedication to our town, and you will be greatly missed. Thank you, Les.
All right, discussion recommendation from the Select Board on the budget. Motion.
The Select Board recommends 4-0.
Okay, so as I described earlier, we're going to go item by item. I'll read the name of the item. You can follow along starting on page 34. If no one comes to the microphone or calls out a hold, we will continue on to the next item. If someone does call the hold, we'll discuss that item before moving on, and so forth till we get to the end, at which point we'll call for perhaps a revised motion and certainly a vote at that point. All right, so starting on page 34, item 114, moderator. Okay. So
Mr. Moderator, I actually have a procedural question.
Yes, please. Point of order.
Yes, thank you. Point of order. Based on the vote that we took, the amendment on Article 3, does that actually need a modification on the bottom line?
Can the FinCom perhaps answer what would happen to the money if we just left it there? I guess is part of the question.
So the way this generally works, and I hate to differ with Becky, is on warrant articles that affect the budget. What happens on town, we vote Article 5 as presented, unless somebody gets up and modifies the actual Article 5. Any warrant articles that affect the budget, raise and appropriate, are then adjusted after the meeting, and we have a new adjusted, because the town has voted on those budget articles, right, in individual warrants. We have a new budget amount. So we don't generally go in and change the budget. Every warrant article as voted that is a tax and appropriate item gets changed by the accountant after town meeting. So I don't want to debate Becky, but that's normally what we've done. But we don't. We raise and appropriate what is voted by town meeting. Town meeting has voted not to provide those salaries to anyone except for town clerk and the constable. So the accountant will take that into consideration, adjust the budget. When it's given to the assessor to be voted, it'll be voted based on what is voted in the warrant and all the raise and appropriates up and down. But that article with the change is only for setting the amount. This is where we're raising.
Okay, so
Okay,
Maria,
so that
what
is
Kelly
different, right?
just informed us of?
So the accountant just said, and that actually does make sense. So you correct. I stand corrected, because that article is one of the few that set the amount. It does in fact need to be changed. Okay, you were right, Becky. My bad. Sorry.
Okay, so a very good discussion of a procedural issue. Thanks for raising the question. I think a few people in the room may have had that concern. So we had a hold on 114 where we just left off. Discussion on the hold, either Ms. Nealand or Ms. Neville.
So we need to make a motion to decrease that? We need to make a motion.
Okay, I'll move that we decrease the moderator's stipend to 0.
Moved and seconded. Discussion from the FinCom?
FinCom recommends.
Discussion from the Select Board.
The Select Board recommends.
Seeing no one at a microphone, all in favor of the motion to reduce to 0, raise your cards. All those opposed, raise your cards. That carries by a majority.
Point of order.
Yes.
Can we just subtract out all of those salaries in one fell swoop rather than do it on each line item?
Yeah, we're going line by line, page by page, so we'll do it very. It'll be organized. It may be a little more time consuming, but only briefly, given how fast that one went. Now we know what to do. All right, that was item 114. Item 119, Town Constable. Item 123, Executive Office. Hold. Is there a comment, question, or concern with Article 123?
Cheryl Mahoney, 188 Liberty Square Road. I didn't see a line for the Select Board, so I just made the assumption that 123 covers those items under Article 3, under salary.
Does the FinCom or Town Administrator know the answer?
Right. So there is actually not a salary for the Select Board. It is the Select Board chose to move their salaries, and it remained in Executive Office events. I don't see a salary line item for the Select Board. No, there is no salary line item for the Select Board.
Okay, no other questions. On to item 131, Town Finance Committee. Item 135, accountant. Item 141, assessor. Item 145, treasurer collector. Item 151, legal. Item 152, personnel board. Item 156, technology. Item 161, town clerk. Item 171, conservation commission. Item 174, land use and permitting. Item 175, planning board.
Hold.
Hold. Is there a comment, question, or concern with 175 planning board?
I make a motion to decrease the planning board total salary budget by $2,000.
Is there a second? Discussion from the finance committee.
This change would reflect what was voted in under Article 3.
Discussion recommendation of the select board.
The select board recommends.
Seeing no one at a microphone, all those in favor of that motion, raise your hand, cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That carries by majority. Item 176, ZBA. Item 179, Agricultural Commission. Flipping the page. Item 182, Economic Development. Item 192, Buildings and Grounds. Item 196, Facilities. Item 199, Sustainability Committee. Item 210, Police. Item 215, Dispatch. Item 220, Fire. Item 292, ACO. Item 300, Education. There's a hold on item 300, Education.
Yep. I move to decrease item budget 300, education, total salaries by $1,600.
Moved and seconded. Explanation, FinCom, please.
Again, this is in support of the amendment to Article 3.
Recommendation, Select Board.
The select board recommends unanimously.
Seeing no one at the microphone, all in favor of the amendment to 300, raise your cards. All those opposed, raise your cards. That passes by majority. Item 310, Acton-Boxborough Regional School District. Item 422, DPW. Item 423, Snow and Ice. Item 424, Street Lighting. Item 425, Hager Well. Item 431, Hazardous Waste.
Hold.
There's been a hold on item 131, Hazardous Waste. Comments or questions?
Janet Connolly, 152 Flag Hill Road. I'd just like to understand if this $10,000 is for the household hazardous waste collection day exclusively.
Yes. And that's why it's not budgeted for this year.
But it's been 2 years since we've had one.
I'm sorry, we're having one this year, and it's not budgeted for next year.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Item 433, Transfer Station. Item 490, Animal Inspector. Item 491, Cemetery. Item 411, Board of Health.
Hold.
So hold on item
511.
511, Board of Health.
Yep.
Question, comments?
I move to decrease total salaries, Board of Health, budget 511, by $600.
Moved and seconded for the same reasons earlier, I
For the
presume?
same reason as earlier.
Select Board recommendation?
Select board recommends.
Seeing no one at the microphone, all in favor, raise your cards. All opposed, raise your cards. That carries by majority. Item 529, Community Services. Item 541, COA, Council on Aging. Item 543, Veterans. Item 610, Library. Item 630,
Nope.
Recreation Commission.
The trustees are not budgeted.
Is there an objection to an item? Question?
It was a clarification on the library. They are not budgeted for their stipend. It was. I understand, but they're not budgeted under budget 610. Sorry, Dennis.
Okay, is it 610 is clear? Yep. Okay, very good, thank you. On to item 630, Recreation Commission. 691, Historical Commission. 692, Public Celebrations. 699, Acton Boxborough Cultural Council. Item 710, Retirement of LT Debt, Long-Term Debt. Item 911, County Retirement Assessment. Item 912, Other Insurance. Item 915, Employee Benefits. Item 132, Total Reserve Fund. And I believe that's the end of the budgeted items.
So we're going to calculate and make sure we all
Okay,
match.
yeah, make sure we get the right number for the
Yep.
revised dollar amount in the motion.
Yep.
All right, stand by for that. We'll
Yeah, just give us a
recalculate
second.
and double check.
You guys all match? Do you have a number, Kelly? Stand by, let's make sure we're all on the same page. All right. Okay. I like that. Okay, so we all match. So I understand I'm just doing an amendment to the original motion?
It could be a revised motion, amendment to the motion. Yeah, I guess technically it's an amendment to the motion.
So I can just continue on with these changes?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so I amend the Article 5 motion made earlier to include Department 114, total salaries, decrease $100. Department 175, total salaries, decrease $2,000. Decrease Department 300, total salaries, $1,600. And a decrease to Department 511, total salary, $600. Is that right? Okay. Can I have a second? Okay.
It's been moved and seconded. And as recommended by the FinCom, recommendation from the Select Board.
The Select Board unanimously recommends.
Seeing no one at the microphone, all those in favor, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That amendment to the motion carries. Presumably, we've amended the motion. We just need to vote on the motion now as amended. All those in favor, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That motion carries by majority. We're done with the budget. Very, very well. Thank you, everybody. See, motion under Article 6.
I move that the town amend the Boxborough General Bylaws by adding Article 1, Section 2, Fall Town Meeting, and by adding the following language in bold italics, and further that non-substantive changes to the numbering of the general bylaw be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the general bylaw. And further, that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $5,900 for the costs associated with and incidental to the holding of the fall town meeting.
Second.
Discussion from the Select Board.
Hold on, just 1 second. The Select Board unanimously recommends. Municipal government has become more and more complicated, with many issues unanticipated prior to the annual town meeting. In the last few years, the town has been required to hold at least one additional town meeting to handle these issues. The Select Board believes that it is better to budget and appropriately plan for another regular town meeting in the fall.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends 4-1.
Majority recommendation of the Planning Board. Yeah, it's a directional mic, so please be sure you're in front of it.
This is my first time at a mic here, so just speak.
Yeah, be sure you're in front of it, though. I think it's riding a little high here.
Okay. The majority of the planning board feels that there is a longstanding tradition of hearing planning board articles at the annual town meeting, as well as a higher likelihood of attendance and interest in planning issues at the annual town meeting. Rather than incur the added expense and effort of a fall town meeting, we would ask the select board to consider moving the planning board articles, as is their prerogative, to be heard as the first item on the second day of town meeting, rather than the last items on the agenda. The hope is that hearing planning board articles when there is the best attendance gives the largest number of voters the opportunity to weigh in without the need for additional meetings.
Planning Board minority opinion.
A minority of the planning board supports this article, which calls for a regular fall town meeting, with a primary focus on planning, zoning, and other land use-related articles. The goal is to have as many people in attendance as possible to vote on these articles and to allow voters sufficient time to fully understand and discuss and debate such articles, which often impact the entire town. Attendance falls off significantly as annual town meeting progresses over a multitude of nights. A review of attendance of annual town meeting as provided by the prior town moderator and town clerk over the last 32 years indicates, on average, the attendance from first night of annual town meeting drops by approximately 32% by the second night and drops by another 37% by the third night. Having a separate fall town meeting allows voters to discuss on land use issues, many of which require a 2/3 vote. It allows voters more time to absorb intricacies of zoning bylaw amendments and other proposals, while not having to also focus on budget items and the many other warrant articles normally presented at spring town meeting. Additionally, while the planning board can and often does request that their sponsored articles be considered earlier at spring town meeting agenda, there is no guarantee that such schedule is able to be accommodated, since there are many important articles for consideration each year and competing for the largest audience.
Discussion from the floor.
Mr. Moderator, Owen Neville, 317 Middle Road. Mr. Moderator, I wholeheartedly agree with the majority opinion of the Planning Board, and I urge defeat of this motion. Let's get our business done at annual town meeting. If we have a regularly scheduled fall town meeting, people will be, boards and committees and commissions, land use ones, are likely to want to fill that up. I think we've wisely heard in recent years from our Economic Development Committee that has advocated for stability in our land use bylaws and regulations for the benefit of all us citizens and of businesses that might want to locate here. Let's have only really necessary amendments, and let's do it at annual town meeting, and let's save the money. I urge defeat. Thank you very much.
Microphone to my right.
Hi, Molly Wong, 86 Stonehenge Place. I'm just wondering, we heard about statistics on the second and consecutive nights of annual town meeting. I'm wondering what our statistics are for attendance at these special town meetings that we've had over the past few years, and if they represent a larger or smaller percentage than attends on perhaps second or third night, because that seems to be the more important comparison in this.
I'll comment that I presided over the fall special town meeting, and we had approximately 150 people in attendance at a counted vote, which is probably about as many people as we have here tonight. I don't know if the town clerk has any data or if anybody else has data to share on that.
Because it seems to be a big culture change that we need to make, and then also get out and communicate. And a lot of talk, I know both in Acton and Boxborough, about trying to make it easier for people to attend town meeting, and adding another one, I think, seems to sort of go against some of that. But if it does show that there's more people available to vote on it, I guess I'm kind of split right now. Thank you.
Microphone to my left, please.
Michael Toops, Pine Hill Road. Quick question. This article as written would not prevent planning or zoning articles from coming up at the normal town meeting, is that correct?
Select Board's article?
I'm sorry, would you repeat the question and get a little closer to the mic?
Yeah, Mike, please stand up.
Okay.
There you go. That's where you're supposed to be.
Find a happy medium.
All right, happy medium here. The question is, the article as written, would this preclude any zoning, planning, or other articles coming up at the regular town meeting?
Well, the intention really was to provide a forum to give precedence to the articles for the planning board. If the planning board felt that they had an article that was urgent and should come up in the spring, we're not stopping anyone from doing that. So any board or committee. We've just had so many special town meetings that it's difficult to plan those things on the fly. So this way we have something set in the fall for not just the planning board articles, but also in case there are any additional budget items that come up or certain other kinds of expenses. So we just felt, based on what a lot of other towns do, that we would have a fall town meeting which would give planning board, with those kinds of particular articles, which are usually very complicated, a wider and larger forum for a firmer and fuller discussion. So they would get priority in the fall town meeting, but it doesn't preclude their coming in the annual meeting.
Okay, thanks. The other, what I'm concerned about is that, as you've seen in regular town meetings, as you get towards the planning articles and the zoning articles, the attendance does tend to fall off. I'm concerned if we had a meeting in the fall with zoning and planning articles that, the 4 people that show up would be, I guess you'd have to vote 3 out of 4 to get your 2/3 majority, would be running through all the planning articles that show up. I'm concerned about moving it off of the normal meetings that the normal spring meeting that we have. I know that we have had a lot of specials, but those come up and are usually precipitated by particular items that require a rather timely fulfillment.
Well, what's interesting about that is that often the planning board zoning articles, and I'm not talking about planning board articles, but zoning articles are often the most discussed. And so there are a lot of people that do want to come to see those. What has happened, and this is just my personal experience, is that by the time you get to the third night of town meeting, people are very tired. But they have shown up. They have shown up at special town meetings where we've had some articles that were discussed. The perfect example was the recent town meeting that we had, which was a special town meeting. There were several articles, zoning articles, and they were very well attended and very well discussed. And there were a large number of people here who voted for them and voted on them. So I don't think it would preclude, a good attendance. That's my personal observation.
All right, thank you.
Microphone to my right.
Christine Marlowe, 880 Depot Road. I have concerns as well having the a town meeting in the fall. Do you have a tentative time? Because it's such a busy time of year. Kids are getting back to school. There's some religious holidays during that time, so I'm trying to understand when you anticipate this happening. Anybody?
The article says October or November. Does the select board or town
we
administrator
were talking
have a
about
preferred date?
November. Yeah, do you remember what time we were? I think it was like I think we were talking about like the third, I forget, the third week of November, but after any, voting schedule So it would be in November as a set time.
Okay. Okay. I just think that we're better off doing it just in the spring, but thank you for your time.
Microphone to my left.
Hi, Jim Camoli, Sergeant Road. I just had a question about the budget items that might go on the fall town meeting. So the benefit of the spring meeting is that we kind of get the context of the whole budget. We know how much the school district's asking for. We can kind of say they're asking for a lot or a little, and we could balance things that way. What happens to the items if there's more that happen to be on the fall agenda? I mean, special town meeting, we know there's one or two things, but do they get considered in the if we had it this fall, it's FY24 budget, they get pushed to FY25 budget. How are those numbers calculated, and how do we get the same kind of context in the fall meeting?
Maria, would you care to answer, please?
It would be the goal of FinCom. It is the goal of FinCom not to add to the budget in any special fall town meeting. We've done that the last couple of years. That's kind of been an anomaly. If you go back, we generally don't do that. If for some reason we got to November and there was a special town meeting, we had to add something to expenses, it would be to just add it to this year's budget, not to add it to the FY25 budget. So we would increase, I don't know, Conservation Commission budget for some reason. It would be in this current budget that we just increased, and the hope would be that it would be fully explained in context to what you just voted. But the goal is not to bring budget items in the fall.
Okay, thanks.
Microphone to my right.
Wes Folks, 155 Stowe Road. I would just urge you to support this because there have been many things that come up. I think a lot of things in this world and even in this town move a lot faster than once a year. And so as a town, we're not actually, as a municipality, even for hiring and dealing with employment matters, we're not extremely flexible because we can't, if somebody says, I'm going to quit, you can't make them a counteroffer. But if you say, hey, well, maybe next year we can ask town meeting to support this. And I'm not saying that we do that with this special town meeting, but there are other things along with some of the ideas that have been proposed tonight, such as the vacation for per diems and other things like that, that could be addressed at a fall town meeting. And so I do believe that it provides the town a bit more flexibility to kind of accommodate and deal with some of these issues that happen over the course of a year that we might not be able to do so on an annual basis. You may lose talent as well.
Microphone to my left.
John Markowitz, 71 Patch Hill Road. I would also urge you to support this, again, along the lines of what Wes was talking about. I mean, having one town meeting that is only one time a year, there are decisions that can't wait. There are things that are moving forward that we need to make decisions on that will require town meeting votes. One example may be the whole issue with bringing water to the western part of this town, okay? That process has started. We are working on the intermunicipal agreement right now. There are other components of that that may require the town to take a vote. We can't wait, okay? Getting that money from the state is critical. We'll have timeframes that we'll need to meet. That's just one example, okay? There's also other examples. There's going to be reconstruction of the bridge over 495 on 111. That may require some questions to be raised at town meeting that we can't wait. You can't wait a whole year to make a decision to run a community or a town. Businesses can't wait a whole year. A town can't wait a whole year. So I'd urge you to support this special town meeting request article for a fall town meeting. Thank you.
Microphone to my right.
Jim Moss, Bicentennial Way. Being a relative newcomer to the town, and also being rather old, I have a hard time remembering a year where we didn't have at least one special town meeting. And it seems to me that it's reasonable to have a fall town meeting. And the beauty about this is that if it doesn't work out, why, we can vote it out and go back to what we were doing. So I think we should try this, give it a shot, all theory abound, just let her rip. and try it out. Thank you.
Microphone to my left.
I'm Mark White, Sarah's Way. So I was one of the 3 planning board members to try and stay with the old system because I'm a traditionalist. And I think what we're all trying for is the best attendance for zoning articles. The last 2 speakers talked about a fall town meeting, but we're not voting on a fall town meeting or not, because when we need one, the select board calls one. We're talking about whether we want to move planning articles from the annual to primarily the fall town meeting. And I don't think that, and the other question was answered, that we're not precluded from having articles on the annual town meeting if we need them, nor, I don't think, are we precluded today from having a planning board article at the next fall town meeting if we need one. So the real question, I think, is to everybody in the room, and unfortunately everybody else who's not here, is would you rather come to this meeting and vote planning articles, or would you rather do it expressly in the fall at a meeting that would be primarily just for planning, or would you rather do it here on the 3rd night or the 2nd night? Because the next thing we could do is make a motion to hear the planning articles tomorrow first thing. So we could do that. So when does the town think it's best to hear these articles? I guess that's really the question that the planning board was trying to decide, and I think that's what this article is about. So how you vote on this basically says if you vote against this means you want to hear the articles at the annual town meeting, and if you vote for it means you want to have the planning articles at the special town meeting.
Microphone to my right, please.
Andrew Tavalacci, 617 Old Harvard Road. I believe that we do need an extra fall meeting for planning purposes only. The town is changing. There's a lot that happens in the period of a year, and having an additional meeting, I'm not saying that we're precluded from discussing planning issues at this meeting, but having an additional meeting 6 months apart from that meeting gives us the ability to address those issues. There are a lot of, the town seems like it's in growing pains. There's things that need to change. There's developers that want to move in, and they want to address renovating existing properties or developing new properties. And waiting till once a year, as many others have said, to address those issues is not a smart business move. We need 2 meetings a year to be able to address those topics.
Microphone to my left.
John Nealon, 201 Picnic Street. So 2 of the select board members spoke, and this is exactly what's happened the last 2 years with special meetings. It starts out, we have a land purchase, so we're going to have a single item special meeting. And then by the time we close the warrant, there's 23 items on it. So it's a noble idea to try and get more focus on those articles, but we have to do it differently than what we're trying to propose right now. We either have to say we have to do them earlier on the days, whether we have 1 or 2 meetings, but whether we do it now or in the fall, either meeting is going to get diluted with a million articles, and then you're in the same boat again of what order do they go in, how's the attendance go. So I think it's a good idea, but I think it just needs to be tweaked a little, that we try and either say that they should be earlier articles on either meeting versus just trying to push them all to the fall. Thank you.
Microphone to my right, please.
Mary Brolin, 153 Guggins Lane. I read this that it doesn't preclude planning board items in the spring, but yet it lets the town plan to have 2 town meetings a year so that it's in the budget. And if there aren't articles for the fall, we just don't have to have it, and then we can save that money out of the budget. I think it's a little harder to come up with the funds for a special town meeting if it's not already in the budget.
Mary Networski, 70 Stonehenge Place. I move the question.
It's been moved and seconded that we move the question. That means it's a motion to stop debate now and to vote on the article. This is just about stopping debate. This requires a 2/3. So all those in favor of stopping debate now and to vote on the article, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That carries by a 2/3 majority. We will now vote on the article as moved, vote on the motion for Article 6. All those in favor of the motion under Article 6, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. And I'm not quite sure about that with the green cards. Give me a... I'm going to do a revote with the cards so I can get a second look. All in favor of Article 6? All right, so is the motion on the screen? Or is the article on the motion? It's basically the same. So we're voting to amend. I can't even see it from here. Can you all see it? We understand what we're voting on? Vote in favor is to add and to fund a fall town meeting. That's
A point of clarification.
Yes, please.
Robin Lazaro, 959 Hill Road.
Yeah.
Is this to move all of the planning board and zoning issues to a special meeting in the fall and not hear them at the annual town meeting?
All right, we've already ended debate. We're voting on the motion. We've had discussion of the motion. It's on the screen, as stated. I think there's you can interpret it for what it is at this point. I'm going to call for the revote because I thought it was a little close, not quite. Everyone in favor of the motion under Article 6, raise your green cards high so I can see them. All those opposed, raise your green cards so I can see them. That passes by majority. Thank you. All right, next up. Motion under Article 7.
I move that the town appropriate the sum of, the total, excuse me, I need the total. Okay. Total of $16,818 and $27,516. That's the total amount to raise and appropriate. To fund the cost of the first 2 years of the collective bargaining agreement between the town and the Boxborough Professional Firefighters Union Local 4601, covering the period of July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2025, and to meet this appropriation, transfer from free cash the amount of $16,818 to fund the FY23 costs and raise and appropriate the amount of $27,516 to fund the FY24 costs, and further to authorize the town accountant to allocate the funds appropriated under this article to the applicable lines in the FY23 and FY24 fire department budgets as necessary.
It's been moved and seconded. Recommendation from the Select Board.
It's the total cost.
Does the Select Board have a recommendation?
The Select Board recommends unanimously.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends unanimously at their May 2nd meeting. We reviewed the major changes with the town administrator. This is a 3-year contract with this year, FY23 included. In this year, it's covered by free cash. FY24 and 25 will be via taxation. And as a note, FY26 will be the year for the new contract to follow.
Discussion from the floor. Microphone to my right, please.
Susan Bach, 59 Burroughs Road. My question is, what is the COLA for fiscal year 23? What's the COLA for fiscal year 24? And the COLA for fiscal year 25?
So the first year of this contract is the current year that we're in, FY23. The COLA is 2.25%. And for FY24 and FY25, it's 3% each of those years.
And for fiscal 24, what is the cost per thousand? on the tax rate, raise and appropriate.
Does the FinCom have the dollars and cents on that one?
Yeah, 1 cent. 1 cent.
So it's 1 cent or $10? $8.72 per the average price of a house.
I'm sorry, $8?
$8.72
Okay.
for the average price of the house.
Thank you.
Seeing no one at a microphone, all in favor of the motion under Article 7, raise your green cards. All opposed, raise your green cards. That motion passes by majority. Motion under Article 8.
I move that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $49,695 for an additional full-time firefighter/EMT in the fire department.
Moved and seconded. Select Board majority opinion recommendation?
The majority of the select
Oh,
board.
get the mic.
Majority of the select board recommends this article for the reasons stated in the summary.
Select Board minority opinion.
The minority of the Select Board does not recommend. After the town failed to be awarded the SAFER grant, the town hired a full-time EMT firefighter in each of the last 3 years. This year, no SAFER grant was sought, but the town has been asked to hire a 4th full-time EMT firefighter, bringing the total number to 8 full-time EMT firefighters. The budget for the fire department has continued to rise significantly, due in large part to the increasing salary line item. The hiring of a full-time employee also necessitates significant health and insurance benefits, as well as the continually rising salaries. While the minority understands that it makes staffing of shifts easier, the minority also must note that several towns, for example, Bolton, Carlisle, and Harvard, operate almost entirely with on-call firefighters and only 1 or 2 full-time firefighters, and other towns, for example, Sterling and Stowe, operate with mostly on-call and only 5 or 6 full-time EMT firefighters. As such, the minority does not recommend this article.
Is there a presentation on the article, as I see in my notes? Not. Finance Committee recommendation, majority and minority, please?
Yeah, the Finance Committee recommends via majority vote. A majority believe, based upon the minimal availability of per diems and the safety of EMT/firefighters, that it's important to have 8 full-time EMT/firefighters on the staff. We believe going forward that the fire department will be stabilized.
The minority of the Finance Committee believes that when this plan was put into place 3 years ago, it included the hope that the SAFER grant would help offset the cost for added staff for the first 4 years. The town has never won the grant and has had to bear the total cost of adding 3 full-time EMT firefighters over the last 3 years. In addition, the increase of the full-time staff should have had at a minimum flatline the overtime and part-time and per diem budget lines over the last 3 years. This has not happened. In fact, those lines have increased due to more earned time and training for the new employees.
Discussion from the floor.
Mr. Moderator, Owen Neville, 317 Middle Road. We've hired the 3 new, and so 3 of the shifts now have 2 people that are part of a team that trains together, works together. This would leave the 4th shift. There are 4 shifts on the fire department. This would leave the 4th shift hanging with the one fellow, or the one firefighter EMT fellow, gal, whichever, hanging there all by themselves with nothing but rotating people, rotating through on-call people. They're off duty from some other job. They're, maybe they're our own guys, our own people coming back on overtime. Let's fill out at least 2 people of our own staff on each of the 4 shifts and get some stability here. I urge everyone to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Seeing no one at a microphone, we will now vote on the motion on Article 8. All those in favor, raise your green cards high where I can see them. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by majority. Motion under Article 9.
I move that the town appropriate the sum of $300,355.80 for the purpose of maintaining roads in Boxborough, including all costs incidental and related thereto. That to meet this appropriation, the sum of $355.80 be transferred from the Transportation Network Company Fund, and that the treasurer, with the approval of the Select Board, is hereby authorized to borrow the sum of $300,000 pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or any other enabling authority, and to issue notes and bonds of the town therefore.
Moved and seconded. Recommendation from the Select Board.
The Select Board unanimously recommends this article for the reasons stated in the summary. It is important to maintain and monitor the driving conditions of all our roads.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends 5-0. This program started many years ago and it supplements the Chapter 90 funds. The tax impact of the average home is $155.47 or 20 cents per thousand.
Seeing no one at a microphone, we will now I'll now call for a vote. This is a 2/3 vote because it does involve bonding. All those in favor of the motion under Article 9, please raise your cards. All those opposed, please raise your cards. That motion carries by 2/3. Okay, now we're on to the next consent agenda. This is the financial non-capital consent agenda for Articles 10 through 17. As mentioned earlier, these have been identified as with a double asterisk in the warrant. These are articles that were unanimously recommended by the Select Board and the Finance Committee and have been identified in advance as items that would likely pass without debate and are intended to be acted upon as a unit. I will now go through the articles one by name. If one or more voters object to including any particular article in the consent agenda and wish to debate that article, please say loud in a hold in a loud voice and when I read that article, and we'll remove it from consent. After I read the name of number 17, I'll ask for a motion from the Select Board Chair for all articles remaining on the consent agenda and ask that to be passed as a unit. We'll then go back and discuss any of the hold articles in the usual fashion. So, starting with Article 10, Town Hall addition to staff part-time. Article 11, transfer to other post-employment benefits trust. Article 12, assessor cyclical reevaluation. Article 13, MS4 permitting, Year 6, Office of Land Use and Permitting. Article 14, cable services and equipment. Did I hear a hold? I did not. Article 15, departmental revolving funds expense limits. All right, that's a clear hold on Article 15. Article 16, Chapter 90 Highway Reimbursement Program. Article 17, Police Fire Injury Coverage Transfer.
So we have the motion. Was Article 14 held?
15 was held.
Just
so
15?
We need a motion on 10 through 14 and 15 and 16,
Okay.
please.
I move to approve the financial non-capital consent agenda warrant Articles 10 through 14 and 16 and 17 in accordance with the funding sources and amounts set forth in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant under Articles 10 through 14 and 16 and 17 respectively.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Discussion by the Select Board.
The Select Board recommends.
FinCom recommendation.
FinCom recommends.
Seeing no one at the microphone, all in favor of the consent agenda motion just made, raise your cards. All those opposed, raise your cards. That passes by majority. Motion under Article 15. We're going back to 15 as that was held out.
Yes. Article 15, I move that the town pursuant to the provisions of General Laws, Section, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, as most recently amended, and the town's revolving fund bylaw to set the FY 2024 spending limits for the town's revolving funds as printed in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant, and further to amend the chart set forth in Article 1, Section 5 of the town bylaws by renaming the Recreation Programs Revolving Fund the, quote, Recreation All Programs, end quote, fund, deleting the now labeled, quote, Field Permitting, end quote, and, comma, by closing out any monies remaining in said account to the Recreation All Programs Revolving Fund.
Moved and seconded. Recommendation from the Select Board, please.
The Select Board recommends.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee, please.
Finance Committee recommends.
Seeing no one at the microphone. All those in favor of the motion under Article 15, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That carries by majority. Moving on to the next consent agenda. Articles 18 through 34 have been identified as capital consent agenda articles and have 3 asterisks in the warrant. These articles were unanimously recommended by the Select Board and Finance Committee and have been identified as in advance as items that would likely to pass without debate and are intended to be acted on as a unit. Same thing as we just did. I will call them in order. If you want to take one out of consent agenda, say hold in a loud voice. I'll read them one at a time, starting with Article 18, upgrade and redesign of the town's website. Article 19, survey of Recreation Commission property, Summer Road. Article 20, Department of Public Works backhoe. Article 21, Department of Public Works underground fuel tank removal and installation of new above-ground tanks. Article 22, Department of Public Works leaf vacuum. Article 23, Department of Public Works Hager Well permanent chlorine system. Article 24, Department of Public Works tree health survey. Article 25, Police Department bulletproof vests. Did I hear a hold? All right, we will hold Article 25, Police Department bulletproof vests. Article 26, Police Department storage for body cameras. I heard a hold on 26. 26, Police Department storage for body cameras, digital images will be held. Article 27, Police Department police vehicle marked cruiser. Article 28, replacement of Fire Department command vehicle. Article 29, replacement of personal protective equipment. Article 30, Sergeant Memorial Library update audio system. Article 31, Sergeant Memorial Library replace roof. Article 32, Sergeant Memorial Library replace fire alarm system. Article 33, evaluation of future uses of the Boxborough Museum, Steel Farmhouse, and Steel Farm Barn. Article 34, replacement of Fire Department Tender 65 tanker grant funded. All right, we went through and Articles 24 and 26 were held. I will now,
Okay.
hold on, 25 bulletproof vests and 26 storage for body cameras were held.
I move to approve the capital consent agenda warrant, Articles 18 through 24 and 27 through 34, in accordance with the funding sources and amounts set forth in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant under Articles 18 through 24 and 27 through 34, respectively.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion Select Board.
The Select Board recommends unanimously.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends unanimously.
Seeing no one at the microphone, all those in favor of the motion on the consent agenda, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by a majority. We will now return to Article 25, which was held. Motion by the Select Board.
I move that the town transfer from free cash the sum of $25,000 for the purchase and equipping of bulletproof vests for the Boxborough Police Department.
Second. Moved and seconded. Is there a presentation under this article? Chief Shefchik?
Thank you. Good evening. John Shefchik, Chief of Police, Boxborough Police Department. Fiscal year 24, Article 25. This is for bulletproof vests for the department. They're on a 5-year replacement expiration. They last about 5 years. It's recommended they are replaced every 5 years. They're rated by the National Institute of Justice, the vests that we get. This would allow for the purchase of approximately 18 vests for the police department. I consider this to be a very high priority item. Their vests will be expiring next year, and we need to get them fitted and have vests for every officer in the department.
Recommendation, discussion from Select Board.
The Select Board recommends unanimously for the reasons stated in the summary. Safety of our employees is of the utmost importance.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends it's important to keep our officers safe. Our employees are our most valuable asset. Funding is from free cash, so there will be no tax impact.
Seeing no one at the microphone, I will now call for a vote on the motion on Article 25. All those in favor, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That carries by majority. Motion under Article 26.
Just a second. I move that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $7,425 for the purpose of providing digital or otherwise appropriate storage for body camera recordings and data for the Boxborough Police Department, including all incidental and related costs.
All right, moved and seconded. Another presentation, Chief Shefchik?
All right, I got the first one out of the way. I can be a little more comfortable. This is for Article 26, body camera storage. We received a grant this past year for the purchase of body cameras. It was received conditionally on November 14th, 2022. Again, for the purchase of every officer in the department to be outfitted with a body camera. The grant covers the cost of the cameras. However, it does not cover the cost of storage. So this would be for the storage, for the records retention, and the video reviews, and we would believe this would eventually become an operating expense after the first year. The cost is $7,425 for not the cameras themselves, but the storage cost. Thank you.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
The Select Board unanimously recommends.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee recommends this is for storage of digital items and video downloads. The tax impact of the average home is $3.85 or 1 cent per thousand.
Discussion from the floor. Microphone to my left, please.
Cheryl Mahoney, 188 Liberty Square Road. I want to apologize in advance. I could probably have gotten this question answered by the chief or Mr. Johns, but I just forgot to make that phone call. Long and short is, what was the long-term analysis of how long the storage would be good? The reason I have concerns is the Bristol County District Attorney and the Hampshire County District Attorney have already run out of storage space for body cam footage that their office is using. I know the state police use a cloud-based storage format, and I was wondering how long. I understood the criteria of how long and the purposes for retaining, but what is the end life of how long you think this $7,000 storage expense is going to take us?
Chief, can you answer the question at the microphone, please?
That $7,425 is an annual cost for storage. It's an annual cost that will presumably go to operating next year.
And are you going to be storing on the Google Workspace, or are you going to be storing in the cloud?
Through a Motorola WatchGuard, through their system.
So is that at the facility, or is it cloud-based?
No, it's a separate, again, through Motorola, through them. They will be storing it in the cloud.
It's an actual offsite, it's not cloud.
Yeah,
And
external.
And how long, what's the capacity that they have?
They have they have many contracts throughout the state. I would say they have, relatively unlimited capacity.
Okay, so there's no danger in us having to modify this current storage perspectives?
No, costs presumably will go up, like most things, in next year, the year after, but that will be a contract, what the cost is that Motorola WatchGuard is going to be, what the cost is for that particular year.
And the intention is for you to make this an operating expense going forward?
I believe that, again, that may be up to FinCom, but I would have eventually put this in the operating budget. I think it belongs there eventually. Yes, I do.
My question.
Comment from the microphone, your name and address, please, just so people can be
Brenda
familiar.
Sidney, Liberty Square Road, cloud expert. I would like to have a better understanding of who in your department is going to be monitoring this. It's great that you have a vendor that you trust and that vendor has thousands of contracts. Who in your department is going to be responsible for the monitoring?
Myself and the supervisors that I absolutely do trust, 100%.
Okay, well, I know nobody else cares, but the fact that you couldn't be clear about whether it was a cloud or an offsite, that was concerning.
Seeing no one at a microphone, we will now call for a vote on the motion on Article 26. All those in favor, raise your green cards high where I can see them. All those opposed, raise your green cards where I can see them. That carries by majority. On to the Community Preservation Fund consent agenda. Article 35 is going to be held out to address a detail in the motion. So I will go, again, this similar process. I'll go through the motion, or the articles one at a time that are intended to be on consent, which will now be Articles 36 through 39. If you want to hold and discuss one, just yell it out. Article 36, Community Preservation Fund, Open Space, including Recreation, Conservation Trust Fund. Article 37, Community Preservation Fund, Community Housing, Regional Housing Services. Article 38, Community Preservation Fund, Community Housing, Boxborough Rental Assistance Program. Article 39, Community Preservation Fund, Historic Resources Cemetery.
I move to approve the Community Preservation Fund consent agenda warrant, Articles 36 through 39, in accordance with the funding sources and amounts set forth in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant under Articles 36 through 39, respectively.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Recommendation, Select Board?
The Select Board unanimously recommends.
Recommendation, FinCom?
The Finance Committee unanimously recommends.
Seeing no one at a microphone, all those in favor of the motion, raise your cards high. All those opposed, raise your cards high. That passes by majority for Articles 36 through 39. Now back to Article 35. We have a motion by Ron Vogel, Chair of the Community Preservation Committee.
This article was originally to be on the consent agenda, but there was a slight wording change that the town council thought was important, so we took it off of there. So I move that the town hear and act on the report of the Community Preservation Committee on the fiscal year 2024 Community Preservation Budget and appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund fiscal year 2024 estimated annual revenues as printed in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant as follows. Sum of $5,000 to meet the administrative expenses of all the necessary and proper expenses of the Community Preservation Committee for fiscal year 2024. And further, to reserve the appropriation from said estimates annual revenue, $31,000 for open space, including land for recreation use, $31,000 for community housing purposes, $31,000 for historic resources, and $208,500 for the fiscal year 2024 budget reserves, all as recommended by the Community Preservation Commission. The Community Preservation Committee recommended 6-0-0.
All right, moved and seconded with
Second.
recommendation.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Ron, you made your committee's recommendation. Any presentation or?
Say again?
Well, you moved. You made your recommendation. Okay, recommendation from the Finance Committee, please.
Finance Committee recommends unanimously.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
The Select Board recommends unanimously.
Seeing no one at a microphone, we will vote on the motion under Article 35. All those in favor, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by majority. Moving right along. Non-financial consent agenda. This is for Articles 40 and 41. The same drill, I won't repeat myself. I'll go by one. There's only two, so we're just going to go quick here. Article 40, authorize Select Board to renegotiate lane cell tower lease. Article 41, Green Community Renewable Energy Trust Fund surcharge.
I move to approve the non-financial consent agenda warrant, Articles 40 through 41, in accordance with the funding sources and amounts set forth in the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting warrant under Articles 40 through 41, respectively.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Recommendation, Select Board.
The Select Board unanimously recommends.
Finance Committee recommendation.
Finance Committee unanimously recommends.
Seeing no one at a microphone, all those in favor of the motion, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your cards. That passes by majority. Motion under Article 42.
I move.
Is Mark White making the motion or Select Board? Go ahead.
I move that the town accept Joyce Lane, Loring Avenue, and McLeod Way as public town ways in the locations ordered by the Select Board and placed on file with the town clerk as required by law, and further to authorize the Select Board to acquire by gift, purchase, or eminent domain upon such terms and conditions as the Select Board may determine, rights in the land within said layouts and abutting lands sufficient to provide for the use and maintenance of said ways for all purposes for which public ways are used in the town of Boxborough.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Presentation and or recommendation from the planning board?
Hi, Mark White, Planning Board. So this has been going on for a long time. This is a 20-year-old project that I didn't think we were going to get here tonight, as a matter of fact. This project has been cooking for a long time. It was developed, it was our first 40B development. It was completed but never completed. The developer never finished the roads. Then there was a conservation issue. Then there was a lawsuit. It was very complicated. The long and short of it is, next slide. And so this is where it is. It's a kind of kitty corner across from the school, if you don't know where it is. People have been living here for 20 years, and again, it was our first 40B, so there's a low-income component as well. Next slide. So like I said, it was incomplete, and when we finish a roadway, the town eventually has to approve that roadway, and that's what we're here to do tonight. That never happened, and again, this is an oddity. Usually a roadway is finished, everybody does what they're supposed to do, all the boards sign off, the building inspector signs off, and then we come in here and it's kind of just a matter of record to sign it off. It never happened. And so now what's happened is the roadway has deteriorated over the last 20 years, starting to come unglued. And then come to find out that the roadway wasn't really constructed to code, and so it's got deficiencies. When we take over that roadway, we have to fix the deficiencies in order to bring it up to standards. It'll never be a roadway that would comply with today's bylaws, but we have to do the best that we can. So if we accept these roads, we're going to have to fork over the money to repave. And we've done a lot of due diligence. I mean, the planning board was unwilling to sign off on this until we understood how much it was going to cost the town. We really did not want to say okay to this until you all knew what it was going to cost. And it's going to cost approximately $175,000 in today's money. One thing to, and Alec, our town planner, thinks he might be able to help out with some grants. It's not a guarantee, so we may have to raise and appropriate, and we will raise and appropriate this. But we should do it soon, because if we don't, it's only going to cost us more. But keep in mind that when all this happened, there was a lawsuit, and I think that was the thing that confused things. The town was given $1 million, approximately, as part of the payment from the plaintiff in the lawsuit, from the defendant in the lawsuit, so the developer. So in a way, we've gotten the money back when, and now what we're doing is trying to just get this thing squared away so that the people who live there can have a roadway that they can depend on. So we hope that you vote for this, and we can put that behind us. Thanks.
Recommendation from the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee recommends. Unfortunately, the road acceptance for this now 20-year-old development was never brought to completion. During this time, the developer was allowed to walk away and recover their performance bond of $83,000. The time has come for the town to show its leadership and do the right thing and accept the road and repair it.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
The Select Board recommends unanimously to accept the 3 roads in order to support the citizens of Joyce Lane, Loring Avenue, and McLeod Way.
Seeing no one at the microphone, I'll call for a vote on the motion under Article 42. All those in favor, please raise your green cards. All those opposed, please raise your green cards. That passes by majority. Please refrain from any noise. Motion under Article 43. We'll hear from Ron Vogel, Chair of the Community Preservation Committee.
This article was not to be on the consent agenda. I move that the town appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund Historic Resources Reserves sum of $85,736 and to appropriate from the Community Preservation General Fund balance, which includes the fiscal year 24 budgeted reserves, the sum of $224,264 for the preservation of the Steel Farm House as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee. The Community Preservation Committee recommended 6-0.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Is there a presentation from the Steel Farm Advisory Committee?
Hi, everyone. Wasn't ready tonight. Didn't think we'd get this far, but here we are. My name is Christopher Hydak, and I'm the clerk for the Steel Farm Advisory Committee, here to talk about this, this warrant article. So thank you for letting me speak tonight. I come here to talk about repairing the exterior. And we need about $310,000 to repair the exterior of the Steel Farmhouse. Fortunately, the CPC funds, they have the funds available already, and the committee has voted to send that to this meeting for approval. So there's currently enough money, and there's some left over, in fact, as well. So the issues essentially are the exterior of the farmhouse. It's in a bad shape. We have leaks in the roof. We have some of the clapboards on the side with weather coming in. Even some of the window panes are starting to fall out. So the reason why we're here tonight is to urgently come to act to actually fix that exterior. It is a stable building other than the exterior, right? And we're afraid that, you know, if the weather comes in, then it's going to, you know, further damage, deteriorate the inside to make it either more expensive in the future or totally, you know, ruin the building. So we have a choice here to make. So the benefits are, it's 239 years old. I'm very fortunate to be here today talking about a 239-year-old building, which is amazing to me. I come from Texas, and we don't have that many buildings, at least that I've seen, that are 239 years old. This is a very special, special building. Just a quick anecdote. I moved here about 3 years ago, and we actually came about a year before. We were looking for places to live, and there's a lot of great places in Massachusetts. And we actually drove into Boxborough, and we stopped at Steel Farm and said, wow, because wow, it's amazing. And that is, to me, I will always remember that moment. That is, to me, my vision of Boxborough, my image of Boxborough is that Steel Farm, the farmhouse, the barn, you know, all of it. It's just amazing. For those who lived here all your entire lives, maybe you don't see it that way that I see it, but I just love it. So we're going to be upgrading the exterior, the roof, the siding, the windows, making it weather tight for the next 40, 50 years. Here's some of the pictures that we took of the farmhouse. Here's the attic showing some of the gaps in the siding. And then we have some of the gaps around the chimney where the water is getting in. I know it's a little hard to see, but that little You see the light? That's bad. And then here's some of the window panes, around there. Like I said, one of the window panes fell out. We had to put it back in. And then the clapboards are showing decay. So you can see, where they are right there. And if you drive past it, I know a lot of people were out for the 5K race. Hopefully you're able to see the farmhouse and see, the fact that it needs a little work. We need a little help there. So in conclusion, we want you to vote yes for this. I know there was an earlier warrant article to decide what the heck we're going to use it for in the future, but I argue that we don't necessarily need a good utilitarian reason other than the fact that it's history, and we have to preserve our history. It's very important. So the funds are already available. There's no additional taxation needed, and it is on the National Register of Historic Places, our only one in Boxborough. So we need to save it. That's all.
Okay, we have a number of recommendations on this one, majority and minority both. I'll start with the Finance Committee, please.
The majority of the Finance Committee does not support the utilization of $310,000 from CPA funds for the preservation of Steel Farm. The majority of members do agree with the general need to preserve the Steel Farmhouse. However, they feel the evaluation of the Steel Farmhouse for use as a museum needs to be completed first. Once the results of the evaluation are available, it is then appropriate to get CPA funding based on the type of work that needs to be done and the amount will be required to get it done.
A minority of the Finance Committee feels that Steel Farm needs to be preserved. This is the last step in ensuring the house is weathertight and will be preserved. We do agree that going forward, the Steel Farm Advisory needs to have plans in place for future use of the property before any more funds are spent renovating the farmhouse.
Select Board recommendation?
The Select Board recommends unanimously for the reasons stated in the summary. The Steel Farmhouse is an important historical resource for the town. Delaying remediation and stabilization may cause its ultimate destruction from weather and other environmental conditions before any further evaluation of its use could be adequately assessed.
Recommendation from the Historical Commission. Okay, I heard Alan say that the Historical Commission recommends. Recommendation, majority and minority from the Agricultural Commission. AgCom is making it to the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Owen Neville, Chair of Agricultural Commission. A majority, as you can see on the screen there, the Agricultural Commission voted 3-1 to recommend this. The majority, of which I was not a member, but I think I can speak for them. The majority felt that it was important for the overall look of Steel Farm, and for, as the member of the committee stated, I think the three members of the commission would agree with everything the presenter has said. The minority, unless there's an office going to be in the house for the Agricultural Commission, didn't see that the house is actually any part of an agricultural use, so therefore didn't feel that the commission had any business recommending one way or the other. Thank you.
All right, discussion from the floor. I'm not sure who was at the microphone first. We'll go with microphone to my right, please.
Robin Lazaro, 959 Hill Road. Jean Steele Kangas was a lifelong resident of Boxborough and was devoted to making Boxborough the best it could be. She led the campaign to preserve the Steel Farmhouse, which her family sold along with surrounding land to the town for preservation. Sadly, while Jean is not here with us today, although she's probably listening, I want to share her own words about why preserving the Steel Farmhouse is so important. I found this from her journal from 2015. Quote, "When people ask, why spend money to preserve or restore the Steel Farmhouse? I say, because it's an important part of our local history, Why preserve that old Liberty Bell in Philadelphia? It's even cracked, broken, because it's an important part of our nation's history. We spent millions on that, and just so people could walk around and look at it. Same with Independence Hall, to walk around and look at it. So even if we don't use it, that steel farmhouse is our history, and we could use it as an annex to our Boxborough Museum, perhaps for smaller meetings of town boards, committees, commissions, or just walk around and look at it. You either care about your history or you don't, but you cannot escape it. History is the future." Close quote. Our steel farmhouse is worth preserving. It has cultural significance to the town, and CPA monies are available for this specific purpose. This house is a visual reminder of our cultural heritage and the people who helped make Boxborough what it is today. Please vote to approve this.
Microphone to my left, please.
John Markowitz, 71 Patch Hill Road. Robin, thanks very much. I mean, if we don't vote yes for this, Gene will not forgive us. But seriously, we need to repair this now. The longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. And then I hear people say, well, what are we going to do with it? What are we going to use it for? There's an awful lot of smart people in this town that have a lot of great ideas. I'll throw out one right now. We could actually take some of the overcrowding that's happening in Town Hall, maybe potentially take our whole land use group, okay? The building inspector, the planner, and whatever other land use activities we create in the future, and move them to a separate location. It'd be a perfect location for that office. They could work there, people could park there, and we would have extra room in Town Hall to eliminate the overcrowding that we have. I cannot get over the fact that we have an assessor who doesn't have a table to lay out a plan to be able to show someone where their property is or what's happening. This is ridiculous. I think we can find a use, and believe me, Gene will want us to say yes. Thank you.
Microphone to my right, please.
Bruce Hager, 760 Hill Road. I would just say, as I don't speak for the Steel Farm Committee because I no longer serve on it, but I was chair of the committee when we did phase one of this project, and I'm thoroughly familiar with the scope of the work. The first phase was extraordinary work that was to prevent the collapse of the chimney and probably the collapse of part of the house. This is simple, necessary maintenance work which would be done to any town building. I do not understand why a majority of the FinCom, which is supposedly representing financial responsibility, wants to defer further necessary maintenance and hold it hostage to a possible further use of the house, which is irrelevant to whether you maintain it or not. Absent a good argument for doing that, I see no reason whatsoever to wait for an analysis of future use of the house or the barn before spending the money that is way past due now. So please, folks, vote yes on Article 43. Thank you.
Speaker to my left, please.
John Fallon, 500 Paddock Lane. I think there are two simple choices. You value history or you don't. This is the only farmhouse left in town on a farm. There are very few changes made since 1810. This is a piece of history that is totally irreplaceable. It is totally unique. That's choice number one. You care about history or you don't. Choice number two is whether you just want to take a bulldozer and get rid of that house tomorrow or vote this money. The roof is 40 years old and it is, you can see daylight. A window fell out of that house this year in a windstorm. That's the kind of shape the windows are in. They're literally falling out. The paint, anybody who's driven by there, it's a disgrace. None of us would live in a house where the paint is peeling and the clapboards are showing, which means the clapboards are rotting. You have two simple choices. You like history or you don't. You take a bulldozer, because if you don't spend this money, it's the equivalent of taking a very slow-moving bulldozer. Or you preserve it. And those are the two choices.
Okay, before I go to the next speaker on the floor, I want to introduce and allow a clarification to the motion that we're discussing. I'll ask council to explain what we're doing so it's clear.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The way the motion, there was a revised motion that didn't quite make it into the slideshow, but essentially the total dollar amount doesn't change, but the motion that was read had essentially said it was coming, a portion, the 224, 264 was coming from the budgeted reserve and the general fund balances inclusive. And I had asked that they be separated out because they're technically two different accounts. So Ron's going to read a revised motion that just spells that out, that there's going to be 19735 coming from the budgeted reserve, and the remaining 33,529 would be coming from the general fund balances. So the total dollar amount is going to be the same, though.
All right, motion.
Is that explanation adequate, or should I reread it?
Let's reread it to enter it into the record.
I move that the town appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund Historic Resources Reserves the sum of $85,736, appropriate from the Community Preservation Fiscal Year 24 budgeted reserves and the sum of $190,735, and to appropriate from the Community Preservation General Fund balances the sum of $33,529 for the preservation of the Steel Farm House as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. We're still discussing the same motion. I'm allowing this as just a clarification. There's nothing essentially different here other than getting the numbers right, which I'll collectively apologize for everybody involved with the numbers here to make sure we get it right. So we understand the number source. We will now resume the discussion with microphone to my right, please.
Okay, Arden Veely, 1055 Depot Road. In 2016, the town hired Red Hawk Architectural Studios to do an assessment of the house. That's 2016. Red Hawk stated that the root cause of deterioration on the exterior is lack of maintenance, especially capital maintenance. In the 29 years that the town has owned this farmhouse, the only capital maintenance on the exterior of the steel farmhouse was a painting done by prisoners at the reformatory in Shirley. So in all those 29 years, that's the only thing that has been done to the exterior. It's time to do it right. Thank you.
Microphone to my left, please.
Cheryl Mahoney, 188 Liberty Square Road, member of the Boxborough Historical Society and the Steel Farm Capital Campaign. To all the points that speakers have made today, history is important. It's our only colonial era farmhouse in town. Since I moved to town 17 years ago, we have lost the coffee house. We have lost the Whitcomb house. We have lost Dolly Bjorklund's house. All those were circa buildings, but they were privately owned. And to coin a phrase that my friend Jean used, they were all demolished by neglect. If we do not do something to just provide normal wear and tear maintenance on a property that the town owns, we will be demolishing it by neglect. Having spent many, many hours at this property, having seen the changes that were able to be realized from the foundational work that the Steel Farm Group, the Freedom's Way Group, the Historical Society Group, and the trustees of reservation were able to accomplish with the foundation reinforcements, we now need to take care of the rest of the envelope. This is just as if this was your own house. You need a new roof. And everyone knows if you've ever had a roof leak, once it comes into the building, it just cascades with problems going forward. So I really urge you, to John's point, if you love history, if you want to stay in line with the surrounding communities of Concord, of Stowe, of Littleton, take your heart and preserve this historic piece of property. And I do know for a fact, people come from all over the country to see this property when they are visiting the Northeast. Thank you.
Speaker at the microphone to my right, please.
Rita Gibbous Grossman, 291 Depot Road. I am also a member of the Community Preservation Committee, but I'm speaking as a resident. When Jean agreed to work with me to get the Community Preservation Act passed, coming up on 10 years ago, this is exactly why we worked on it. Because we needed money to buy land for conservation, we needed money for affordable housing, and we needed money to protect our historical resources. Steel Farm, as a taxpayer, I'm horrified and I'm personally embarrassed that it's in the condition that it's in, because we acquired this, I believe, in 1992. Is that correct? 94? 1994. Right. Yeah, it was 1994. I had a newborn then, so my brain. That it's in this bad a condition is just complete neglect. And the fact that it's on the National Historic Register, this should have been done already. But prior to CPA, you come to town meeting, we really need to fix Steel Farm, but oh, we need a new fire truck, or we needed public safety issue, or we needed something with the school. There was always something that preempted. And so it got put off and put off and put off. And now it's a bigger mess than it would have been had we done the right thing to begin with. And although I respect the minority statement by the Finance Committee that you should probably know what you're doing with the building before you spend any money, I think that might be true if we're talking about interior design. But this, to me, is the kitchen stove is on fire, but we're not going to put out the fire till we decide what we're going to make for dinner. So I think that, with all due respect, we need to spend this money. We need to preserve the envelope, and then we can, discuss more detailed plans and commitments and agreed upon use of the building when it comes to, do we keep this wallpaper or don't we? Or do we keep this floor this way or we don't? Right? It doesn't matter. The building's going to fall down if we don't fix the envelope. I don't know if I can finish because I'm going to start crying, but I promised Jean a few days before she died and I went to visit her. We talked about the Steel Farmhouse, and what really impacted me was her deep appreciation for the interior of the house and how it's very unique in what it represents of that time period and the way lives were lived. And she felt so strongly that it would be important for school children to have a good understanding of what life was like when the house was in full use, when it was first built. The fact that it still remains the same is pretty impressive. So please vote yes on this article. Thank you.
Speaker to my left, please.
Yes, Richard Hilton, 394 Littlefield Road. I'm also with the Historical Society. And just as a reminder, May is National Preservation Month. Yeah, and I had nothing to do with that. The idea of that wanting to know what we're going to use it for is absolutely, essential. And I think at least by now we have a really good contingent for making sure that the town really uses that. But there is nothing like walking into a place like this, one of our jewels, if not the jewel, of a town that farming built. When you walk into a room and you have a gigantic hearth, that was the kitchen. And you have someone explain how that all happened, like Rita was just saying, to kids or to us. I just found out that actually was also called a keeping room. Why? Because that was your heating source. So you cooked on it, and then the family came in later on at night, on a cold night, and some even slept there. Those whole things, seeing people interpret what that is, there's a lot of really, really interesting detail in that place. And to explain that, there's nothing better than a visceral tour through that. So I also say that you can't get that anywhere else. You can't get that in A Portrait in Town, as great as that book is. You need to go through, have people explain why that is that way and why this is that way and how people really lived. I love the fact that the house actually faces away from what is now Middle Road. Why? Because Middle Road actually went between it and the barn. So that's why that's the formal entrance coming that way and not from the side or from existing Middle Road. All that stuff is just fascinating things we can't replicate anywhere else. Oh, yes.
Speaker to my right, please.
Off Stewart, 59 Burroughs Road. The only thing that came to mind when I was thinking about this is I've had an old house before, and I'm sure within and without, there's a lot of lead paint. That gets really expensive to deal with that. Does anybody, I'd like to see what the total cost long term is going to be on this project. We're going to do this, but now how do we deal with all the other things that are coming up? What's the long term complete cost of what we need to do to that?
I believe that's a question to the Steel Farm Advisory Committee. Do you have an answer?
Yeah, we don't have a estimate for the long term, what it would take for that yet. I think a lot of it depends upon, just securing the outside exterior first, right? We don't want to, come up with a huge budget if you decide not to preserve it, right? And this is an immediate, urgent matter, right? Now, in terms of the inside, based upon the uses that are, determined based upon the warrant article that was approved earlier today, we can probably move forward and start estimating that out of that determination. So we don't know.
Microphone to my left, please.
Jennifer Campbell, Patch Hill Road. I move the question.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we move the question and vote now. This is just to vote on whether we will stop debate on this motion. Requires 2/3. So all those in favor of stopping debate now and voting now, raise your green cards. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by 2/3. We will now vote on the motion under Article 43. All those in favor, raise your green cards, please. All those opposed, raise your green cards. That passes by majority.
I want to make a motion to pass over Article 44, and I will give the microphone to the town administrator for an explanation.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to pass over Article 4. That means to take no action on it. Explanation is coming.
Good evening. Earlier in one of the consent agendas, the capital consent agendas, you voted $8,000 towards funding this article, this tender. Currently, we have a grant in with FEMA to fund 95% of this tanker. Last year, we also had a grant application in, and were not awarded the grant. This year, because the fire department did actually an even better job of submitting their application, and because the equipment that we currently have is 1 year older. We've moved up a little bit in the prioritization of getting the grant. So we've moved one step further than we were a year ago, and we're into what's called the technical assistance portion of that grant process. So what we'd like to do is pass over this article, let FEMA continue to look at the grant for this, where we end up spending, if we get the grant, only $28,000 towards this $560,000 piece of equipment. If we don't get the grant, then we could take this up again at a future town meeting. I'm assured by the fire chief and by Captain Malinowski, who've been working very closely on this grant and the need for this equipment. This is a good way to move in ensuring that your money is going to the best use for getting its equipment. So again, we recommend that you consider passing over this article.
Okay, recommendation from the Finance Committee?
So this was a little bit of a shock to us, but from a quick discussion here, we agree.
All right, any further recommendation or clarification from the Select Board?
You want more clarification? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Hold on just one moment.
Let me ask the fire. Question for the fire chief. If we get this grant, can we wait until the next town meeting to authorize that funding? In other words, we get the grant in the future. The question is, if we don't authorize the full 560, would we still be able to move forward? In other words, can we wait on ordering the truck until the next town meeting, not just until the grant approval, but until the town meeting? Yeah, can you come up? So what we're discussing is we want to make sure once we get the grant that we can go ahead and apply those funds and that it doesn't kick us back. We just want to make sure we don't make a wrong move here.
So just a point of order. Should we adjourn for the evening? Because we would have then 3 articles for tomorrow and we could have a solid answer.
We could have a motion, but it may be preferable to settle this one.
Yeah.
Because we often continue past the 10:30 point. We just don't take up new.
Meeting tonight now.
If there's clarity on, there's been a motion to pass over, a second, and discussion that's advocating to pass over. Is that continuing, and does there need to be any more clarification? Okay, so it's been moved, seconded, recommended by Select Board with some explanation from the Town Administrator, recommended by the FinCom at the moment here. Discussion from the floor. This is just to pass over this article. Seeing no one at the microphone, all in favor of passing over the motion on Article 44, raise your green cards. All those opposed? That passes by majority vote. We are now at the point in time in the evening where we typically discontinue discussion, and I will call for a motion to adjourn if the chair of the Select Board so wishes.
I make a motion that we continue tonight. We have only 3 articles left, and we could possibly finish tonight in a single day, and I think that would be a record. So I make a motion that we continue past the 10:30 time.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue beyond our agreed-upon earlier vote to discontinue this evening at 10:30 if we're taking up new articles. Recommendation from the Select Board, I think we just heard it. Do you wish to add anything else?
Yes, unanimously recommends.
All right. Recommendation from the FinCom.
The FinCom unanimously does not recommend. The articles that are coming up are important planning board articles and article citizens petition, and the room is half empty. So we do not recommend.
Discussion from the floor.
Ann Canfield, 628 Stowe Road in Boxborough, obviously. I think it would be unwise at this point in time, looking at the next article and then looking also at the planning board articles, I think it would be very unwise to keep going. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm exhausted, ready to go home, and I think you've lost more than half of the audience anyway. And it's never a good idea to have a handful of people discuss either planning board articles or something like the next article up. So I hope that we can adjourn and go tomorrow.
Microphone to my left, please.
I agree with Ann.
Microphone to the right, please. You saw it here first, folks.
That's me?
All right. Well, yeah, microphone to the right.
Mark Barbadoro,
please.
Old Harvard Road. It doesn't matter what day or what town meeting it is. Planning board articles always come up at 11:45 at the meeting. And I'd prefer to be earlier. So I'm asking that we don't go forward with any more articles tonight.
Microphone to my left, please.
Rita Grossman, 291 Depot Road. I would so love to be done tonight, but I think it's so unfair to the importance of these last 3 articles. I will even bake more cookies for tomorrow night. So I support that we adjourn, or not, that we finish and continue tomorrow night.
Okay, seeing no one at the microphone. The motion, as I understand it, was to continue past our 10:30 time. It was seconded. We've just discussed it. So if you vote yes, that means you want to continue tonight. If you vote no, it's to adjourn for the evening, which we'll still need a separate motion on, but we will have at least heard everyone's opinion on what to do. So all in favor of the motion to continue discussion on articles and motions this evening, raise your green cards. All opposed, raise your green cards. All right, that fails. I will now ask for a motion to adjourn until 7 p.m. tomorrow here at the Blanchard Gymnasium.
Second.
It's can someone make a motion that everybody can hear at the microphone?
So moved.
All right. All right.
You want the whole motion? I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
The motion, the way it should be read.
Sorry,
I'll read the motion as it should be read, and then someone can make the motion, all right? Just for clarification here. What the motion needs to say is, I move that the May 8th, 2023 annual town meeting be adjourned until 7 p.m. tomorrow evening in the Blanchard School Gymnasium.
So moved.
Oh, so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Recommendation from the Select Board.
Yeah, I guess.
Recommendation from the FinCom.
Absolutely.
Is there somebody at the microphone, or will they step away so we can vote? All in favor, raise your green cards. All opposed? See you all tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Thank you very much.